Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Known for its modern cities, rich culture, and global influence through K-pop and dramas, South Korea often feels vibrant and fast-paced. But beneath that polished image, there are also chilling real-life cases that reveal a much darker side. Today we're going to look at that dark side and explore a series of real-life crime cases that happened there. Stories that are as disturbing as they are unforgettable. So let's begin with our very first case. Nth Room case. The Nth Room case was a very serious online crime that happened in South Korea. It showed how the internet can be used in very harmful ways. This case started around late 2018 and early 2019 on a messaging app called Telegram. Telegram is a normal app used by millions of people, but it also has strong privacy features. Messages can be hidden, encrypted, and even deleted automatically. Because of this, some criminals used it to do illegal things without being easily caught. A person using the name God is believed to have started the first small group of chat rooms called Nth Rooms. The name basically means there could be many rooms, not just one. Over time, more rooms were created with different names, and they all followed the same pattern. These rooms were run by criminals who tricked and blackmailed young girls and women into sending harmful and private content. At first, some content in these rooms was shared for free to attract users. Later, people had to pay money to join and see more extreme content. The more extreme the content, the higher the price. Some users paid hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The victims were usually found on social media like Twitter. The criminals would contact them pretending to offer jobs or opportunities. For example, one young girl was told she could get a part-time job. The criminal asked for her personal details, like her home address. After gaining her trust, the criminal asked her to send a private photo. Once they had that photo, they used it to threaten her. They said they would send it to her family if she did not do what they asked. Because of fear and pressure, the victims were forced to create more and more content. This continued for a long time, and the situation became worse over time. Many victims were treated very badly and were forced to do things they did not want to do. The people running these rooms were later investigated by the police. Around 100 suspects were arrested, and some were sent to jail. The main leader of this crime group was a man named Cho Doo, also known as the Doctor. He ran one of the most extreme chat rooms. He was arrested after two college students known as Team Flame discovered the Nth Rooms while doing research for a journalism project. They reported it to the police and helped in the investigation. When Cho Doo was revealed to the public, many people were shocked. He was only 24 years old and appeared to live a normal life. This showed that criminals do not always look dangerous or different from others. Another shocking part of the case was the number of users. Around 260,000 accounts were linked to the Nth Rooms, although some may have been duplicates. Many users were not just watching but also sharing harmful content themselves. These users came from South Korea and other countries around the world. Some of the people involved were found to have normal jobs like teachers. This made the case even more disturbing because it showed that such crimes can involve ordinary people. In the end, Cho Doo was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Some others received shorter sentences. Cho Doo case. In 2008, in South Korea, an 8-year-old girl named Na Young was walking to school like she always did. It was a normal day, and she followed the same path she had taken many times before. But on that day, everything changed. While she was on her way, an older man approached her. He told her she needed to go to a church nearby. Trusting him, she followed. Once inside the church, he took her into a bathroom. There he attacked her in a very violent way. The girl tried to resist, but he hurt her badly and made her lose consciousness. When she woke up, she was alone on the bathroom floor. Cold water was running around her. Even though she was in terrible pain, she used all her strength to crawl out of the bathroom. She managed to reach outside and cried for help. People nearby heard her and quickly called an ambulance. She survived, but her body was permanently damaged. She would need medical help for the rest of her life. The girl later told the police what had happened. She described the man who attacked her. Soon after, the police found and arrested him. He was a man in his 50s. At first he said he was not guilty, but there was strong evidence against him, including blood and other proof from the scene. The case went to court, and the young girl had to face the man who hurt her. She had to speak in front of others and explain what happened. During the trial, the man's lawyer asked her if she smelled alcohol on him. She answered honestly and said yes. Because of this, the man claimed he was drunk and not fully aware of what he was doing. The court accepted this as a reason to reduce his punishment. At first, he was given 15 years in prison. Later, this was reduced to 12 years. Many people were very angry about this decision. They felt the punishment was too small for such a serious crime, especially against a child. Her family supported her as much as they could, and her father even stopped working to take care of her. Over time, she slowly began to recover. She returned to school and tried to live a normal life again. But things became difficult once more when the man was released from prison in 2020. After finishing his sentence, he returned to live in the same area. This caused fear and anger in the community. Many people protested and tried to stop him from coming back, but nothing could be done because he had already served his time. To protect the public, the man was placed under strict watch. He had to wear a tracking device, and his movements were monitored. Even so, people still felt unsafe. Because of this, the girl's family decided to move away. They felt they could not stay in the same place as the man who caused so much harm. Paju chainsaw murder. The Paju chainsaw murder case is one of the most shocking crimes from South Korea. It shows how dangerous it can be to meet strangers from the internet without knowing them well. The main person in this case was a 35-year-old woman named Go Mi-sook. She was known to be very attractive and often used social media and adult chat sites to talk to men. She would post suggestive photos and attract men online. Many of her relationships were not real love, but more like deals where men would spend money on her. At one point, she had a long-term relationship with a man who supported her financially. But when that relationship ended, she became very angry and upset. This seems to have been a turning point in her life. On May 25, 2014, Go Mi-sook started chatting with a 50-year-old man on an adult website. The man was married, but he still agreed to meet her. They planned to meet in person. He lied to his wife and said he was going to another city for work, but in reality, he was going to meet Go Mi-sook. They met near a road in Paju and then went together to a nearby motel. Motels are usually cheap places with less security, which made it easier for her to carry out her plan. Inside the room, she asked the man to remove his clothes and close his eyes. The man trusted her and agreed. But as soon as he closed his eyes, she attacked him with a kitchen knife. She stabbed him in the neck and then stabbed him many more times. The attack was so violent that the man died there in the room. After killing him, she dragged his body into the bathroom. She then cleaned herself, changed clothes, and took his credit card. Instead of panicking, she calmly left the motel and went shopping. She bought tools like a chainsaw, a shovel, and bags. She even used the man's credit card to buy expensive jewelry for herself. What is even more disturbing is that after the murder, she invited other men to the same room and spent time with them, even though the dead body was still there. This showed that she had no fear or regret. Later, she returned to the room and cut the body into parts. She placed the parts into bags and cleaned the room carefully using detergent and air freshener to hide the smell. On May 29th, she threw one of the bags in a remote area. The other bag was found in an industrial area by a worker who quickly called the police. Since the victim's wife had already reported him missing, it did not take long for the police to identify him. The police checked CCTV footage and tracked Go Mi-sook's movements. There was strong evidence against her, including video recordings, her car number, and even traces like her hair and nails found in the bag. She was soon arrested. When she was caught, she was wearing expensive clothes and jewelry bought with the victim's money. During questioning, she first claimed that the man tried to attack her and that she killed him in self-defense. Later, she changed her story and even denied the crime completely. However, the evidence was very clear. The court believed that the murder was planned and not an act of self-defense. On February 4, 2015, the court gave her a sentence of 30 years in prison. She tried to appeal, saying she was mentally unstable, but the court rejected her request. Sook An case. This case happened in October 2022 in Washington, USA. It is about a woman named Sook An, a mother of two, who went through a very terrifying experience but managed to survive. One Sunday afternoon, police received an emergency call from an Apple Watch. The caller could not speak, but they could hear sounds of struggle, banging, and movement. It sounded like a woman was in serious danger. The call suddenly went silent, but police quickly tried to find where it came from. Using phone signals, they traced the call to a quiet house in a place called Lacey. When police arrived, they found the house empty, but something was clearly wrong. The garage door was open, and inside they found a broken Apple Watch on the floor. The house looked messy, and there were signs of a struggle. There was even duct tape with hair stuck to it, which made officers very worried. The woman who lived there was 42-year-old Sook An. Police soon learned that her husband, Hakyung Lee, had a history of violence. The couple was going through a divorce, and he had moved out, but he still visited the house sometimes. That same day, Young had asked her daughter to take her younger brother out so she could talk to her husband in private. When the children came back later, both parents were gone. Soon after, police confirmed that Young had likely been taken by her husband. Police checked security cameras in the area. They saw a man believed to be the husband entering the house and later driving away quickly in a van. This made it clear that Young had been kidnapped. What happened next was even more disturbing. According to Young's later statement, her husband attacked her during their argument. He hit her many times, tied her hands, legs, and covered her mouth and eyes with tape. While he left the room for a short time, she managed to use her Apple Watch to call for help, even though she could not speak. When he returned, he noticed the watch and smashed it with a hammer. He then dragged her into his van and drove her far away into a forest. She was still tied and could not see anything. In the forest, he forced her out of the van and made her lie on the ground. He dug a hole while she listened, knowing it was meant for her. After that, he hurt her again and threw her into the hole. He then covered her with dirt and placed a heavy log on top. She was buried alive. Young was trapped under the ground for hours. She could barely breathe, but she stayed calm and tried to survive. She slowly moved her body and managed to create a small space to breathe. After some time, she was able to free her hands and started digging herself out of the soil. It took a lot of effort, but she finally got out. It was dark, and she did not know where she was, but she started running through the forest. After about 30 minutes, she reached a house and knocked on the door, asking for help. It was almost 1 a.m. when police found her. The next morning, police found her husband nearby and arrested him. They also found the place where she had been buried. Incheon barbecue restaurant torture case. This case happened in Incheon, South Korea, in September 2024. It started when a call was made to emergency services from a barbecue restaurant. A man said his sister had an accident. He claimed she had fallen onto hot charcoal while working. Paramedics quickly arrived at the restaurant. They were led to the second floor, where they found a 35-year-old woman named Incheon lying on the floor. She was covered with a blanket and was barely breathing. When they removed the blanket, they were shocked. Her upper body was badly burned, almost completely black. The burns were very serious and did not look like a simple accident. She was rushed to the hospital and later moved to a special burn center. Despite treatment, she died 2 days later. Because her injuries were so severe and unusual, the case was handed to the police. There were 7 people in the restaurant at the time. Most of them were her family members. When the police questioned them, their stories did not match. Some said she collapsed from being tired. Others said she slipped and fell onto the fire. No one gave a clear or consistent answer. Even her older brother, who made the emergency call, acted strangely and showed little emotion. Police also found something odd at the scene. The second floor was very clean, and there was no charcoal grill where the accident was said to have happened. This made them think the scene had been cleaned up. Then they checked a security camera on the second floor. What they saw was shocking. Earlier that day, Incheon's aunt and other family members had set up a large metal frame on the floor. It looked like a big grill. Later, Incheon was seen climbing onto it and lying down. Her hands and feet were then tied so she could not move. Under the metal frame, they placed a container filled with burning charcoal. As the heat rose, Incheon started to scream and struggle in pain, but no one helped her. Instead, her aunt and cousins held her down. When she passed out, her aunt hit her to wake her up again. This went on for about 3 hours. Even worse, her brother and another relative came upstairs during this time and watched but did nothing to stop it. After a long time, Incheon stopped moving. They put a wet towel on her body and even placed raw meat on her burns. They waited about an hour before calling emergency services. Before the paramedics arrived, they cleaned the scene. They removed the metal frame and the charcoal and hid evidence. After seeing the video, the police arrested everyone involved. During questioning, the aunt said they were not hurting Incheon. She claimed it was a ritual to remove an evil spirit from her. Other family members supported her and said the same thing. Even Incheon's mother defended the aunt and said she was trying to help. It was later found that the aunt had controlled the family for many years. She claimed to have special spiritual powers and made her family believe in her. They trusted her completely and followed her orders without question. She also had money problems and wanted control of the restaurant, which was doing well. Incheon was the one running it, and she did not fully obey her aunt. In court, the aunt was sentenced to life in prison. Her children and another helper received long prison sentences. Her brother and cousin were also punished for helping. This case is very disturbing because the victim was surrounded by her own family, yet no one tried to save her. Instead, they all took part or stayed silent. Kim Tae Hyun often spent her free time playing games at a local PC gaming cafe near her home in Seoul. She had been going there for years and had made many friends, both in real life and online. One of the main games she played was League of Legends. Around Christmas 2020, Eri met up with a group of gaming friends. Some of them she already knew, but a few were new. One of the new people was a man named Kim Tae Hyun. He was 24 years old and seemed like a normal person at first. Over time, Kim started to like Eri. However, she did not feel the same way. In fact, she felt uncomfortable around him. When she rejected him, Kim became upset and angry. Instead of moving on, he started to hate her. Eri began to avoid him and stopped meeting him when he was around. But Kim did not stop. He started to bother her online and through messages. Eventually, Eri blocked him everywhere, including in the game. Even then, Kim did not give up. He found ways to contact her again, using new accounts and even calling her from different numbers. He also followed her in real life, watching her at the gaming cafe. Eri became so worried that she even changed her phone number, but Kim still managed to find it. Unknown to Eri, Kim had a troubling past. He had already been in trouble for harassment before. He had also been fined for other strange and disturbing actions. Over time, his behavior became worse, but people around him did not fully realize how dangerous he was. After Eri blocked him, Kim came up with a new plan. He created a fake online account and pretended to be someone else. Through this account, he became friends with Eri again without her knowing who he really was. He played games with her and watched her online activity closely. This helped him learn her daily routine. At some point, Eri had posted a photo online that accidentally showed part of her home address in the background. Kim saw this and used it to find where she lived. On March 23, 2021, Kim made a terrible plan. That day, he searched online things like how to hide a body and how to kill quickly. He packed a bag with clothes, gloves, and weapons and went out. In the evening, he went to Eri's apartment building. He pretended to be a delivery worker to get inside. He knocked on her door and told them to take the package. When the door opened, it was not Eri, but her younger sister. Kim forced his way inside and killed her. Later that night, Eri's mother came home. Kim attacked and killed her as well. About an hour later, Eri herself returned home. When she saw what had happened, Kim attacked and killed her too. After this, Kim stayed inside the apartment for 3 days, living there with the bodies. He ate their food and stayed hidden inside. Friends of Eri became worried when they could not reach her. On March 26, police went to check on her apartment. When they entered, they found all 3 victims, and Kim was still there. He was arrested soon after. Later, he admitted to the crimes. During the investigation, police also found his home in a messy and disturbed state. In court, Kim accepted the charges against him. He said he felt guilty, but the damage had already been done. 3 innocent lives were lost because of his obsession. Inhwa school incident. In June 2005, a TV program was contacted by a teacher who wanted to expose something terrible. The teacher, who we can call Mr. J, worked at Inhwa school in Gwangju. This school was for deaf students and children with other disabilities. Many of the students lived in the school because they had no parents or came from very poor families. At first, the school looked normal. It had been opened since the 1950s and received money from the government. But behind the scenes, there were many problems. Students were made to do hard labor, and the school took more students than it should to get more money. There were also rumors of corruption. Mr. J found out something much worse. A parent told him that her daughter had been abused by a staff member. The students trusted Mr. J because he could understand them better. Many staff members did not even know sign language, even though the students were deaf. This made it very hard for the children to speak up or explain what was happening to them. When the truth started to come out, it was horrifying. Many students said they had been abused for years by teachers, the principal, and other staff. Some were as young as 7 years old. The abuse happened in classrooms, staff rooms, dorms, and even outside the school. Some students said they were called into rooms with the promise of snacks, but then they were hurt. Others said they were shown adult videos or touched inappropriately. In some cases, students were tied up and abused for hours. If anyone tried to speak up, they were threatened or beaten. The abuse was not just by one person. Many of the people in charge were involved. Even worse, the school was run by one family. The chairman, the principal, and other top staff members were all related. This made it easy for them to hide the truth and protect each other. Students who tried to report what was happening were ignored. Some teachers who wanted to help were fired. Even a bus driver who tried to speak up was threatened. Finally, outside organizations and the media got involved. Many students were scared, and some had no family to support them. When the case went to court, the results shocked many people. The punishments were very light. The main offenders only received short prison sentences, some less than a year. Others were not punished at all. Some families also accepted money from the offenders and dropped the charges. Years later, in 2011, the movie Silenced was released. It made the whole country angry. People protested and demanded justice. Because of this, the case was looked at again. This time, one of the main offenders received a much longer sentence of 8 years in prison. New laws were also made to protect children and disabled people. These laws removed time limits for such crimes and made punishments stronger. Ansan Handcart murder case. In July 2011, something very shocking was found in a quiet apartment area in Ansan, South Korea. There was a small playground where children played every day. Near that playground, an old handcart had been sitting for years. People saw it all the time, but no one really cared about it. It had become part of the place. One day, a parent complained about the cart. A child had bumped into it and got hurt, so she asked security to remove it. This simple request led to a very disturbing discovery. A security guard went to check the cart. Inside it, he found a large ice box. Inside were many layers of plastic. As he removed them, he found a suitcase. Inside were human body parts. The police were called right away. When they arrived, they saw that the body had been cut into pieces and was badly decomposed. There was no face, no ID, and no clear way to identify her. After careful work, experts were able to find fingerprints from a few fingers that were still in better condition. This helped them identify the victim. She was a 44-year-old woman known as Mrs. Park. She had actually lived in the same apartment complex where the cart was found. This made the case even more shocking. Mrs. Park lived a very quiet life. She had a disability in her arm and depended on social welfare money to survive. She did not have many friends or close family around her. Because of this, when she disappeared in 2006, no one reported her missing. No one noticed she was gone. For more than 5 years, her body stayed hidden inside that cart, right in a place where people walked every day. The police started looking at possible suspects. The first person they looked at was her ex-husband. But after investigation, there was no strong evidence against him, so he was cleared. The second idea was that a stranger may have killed her. Since she lived alone and had little support, she may have been an easy target. The third and most important suspect was a man named Chong. He was 66 years old and the owner of the Handcart. This made him very important to the case. Chong had a dark past. Years ago, he had been convicted of murder and was even given a death sentence. But later his sentence was reduced and he was released. After that, he tried to live a new life. He became involved in religious work and helped people with disabilities. But there were many strange things about him. He had lied about his past and even about his job. More importantly, he had a connection to Mrs. Park. He had helped her move into the apartment and was even receiving her monthly disability money. Sadly, the police could not question him. Chong had died in 2009, 2 years before the body was found. Because of this, they could not confirm anything. In the end, the case remained unsolved. Hakyung Lee. Hakyung Lee lived in a quiet suburb in Auckland, New Zealand. The Jo family seemed calm and normal. Lee, also known as Jasmine, lived with her husband Jojo and their 2 children, Yuna and Moo. Yuna was 8 years old and Moo was 6. Jojo worked at Auckland Airport to support the family while Lee stayed home to care for the children. She had stopped working so she could focus on them. Friends and teachers saw the family as loving and kind. Yuna and Moo were happy children who did well at school. Their teacher described Yuna as polite, focused, and friendly, and Moo as cheerful, playful, and curious. The parents were very involved in their children's education and always wanted to help them do their best. Lee had moved from South Korea to New Zealand when she was a teenager. Her life had not been easy. Her father died when she was only 18, which caused her great sadness. She married Jojo in 2006, and together they built a family. In early 2017, the family's life changed suddenly. Jojo was diagnosed with cancer. He became very sick and needed long hospital care. Lee was deeply upset by this news. She often cried and told her mother that she could not live without her husband. Her mother tried to comfort her and told her to stay strong. As Jojo's illness got worse, Lee spent more time at the hospital. She spent a large amount of money on hotels and trips, hoping to make happy memories for the children and distract them from the loss. After returning, Lee became more withdrawn. The children began missing school, and people outside the family saw them less often. Lee was seeing doctors and was given medicine to help with sleep and stress. In 2018, Lee's mother became worried because she had not seen her daughter or grandchildren for a long time. She went to the police, but no urgent action was taken at that time. Later, it was found that Lee had changed her name, renewed her passport, rented storage units, and bought items like plastic bags and tape. In June 2018, the last signs of the children being alive were recorded through a video game system in the family home. After that, there was no further sign of them. In August 2022, a family bought the contents of a storage unit at an auction. Inside were 2 suitcases. When they opened them, they found the remains of Yuna and Moo. Tests later showed that the children had been given medication that caused their deaths. Lee was found in South Korea and brought back to New Zealand to face trial. She said she had no children. In court, her defense said she was mentally unwell and did not understand that her actions were wrong. Doctors spoke about her long history of depression. The prosecution argued that Lee knew what she was doing. They said her actions after the deaths showed planning and understanding. The jury agreed and found her guilty of murdering both children. Case of Yeo In. This is the story of a very shocking and sad case that happened because of drugs. On the morning of May 21, 1989, around 7:40 a.m., a man named Lee was going up to the roof of his building to fix a water tank. As he walked up the stairs, he suddenly found something strange. On the second-floor staircase, there was a naked man lying on the ground. A cable was wrapped around his neck like he had been hanged. Before Lee could understand what was going on, he smelled something burning. He saw smoke and followed it to one of the homes on the second floor. When he went inside, he saw a blanket on fire. Then he saw something even more horrifying. Inside the home were the bodies of a woman and 2 young boys. They were clearly dead. Their injuries were very severe, and their heads had been cut off. The heads were placed together in one corner of the room. It was a very disturbing and painful scene. Police were called right away. They found out that all the victims were from the same family. The man on the staircase was 30-year-old Yeo In. The woman was his wife, and the 2 boys were their sons, aged 8 and 6. At first, police believed that Yeo In had killed his family, set the fire, and then taken his own life. But the case was very brutal, and they wanted to understand why this had happened. When they looked deeper into his life, they found many problems. Yeo had a criminal past. He had been in trouble many times before, including for drugs and violence. Just 2 months before the incident, he had been in prison for assault and was released on May 1, 1989. After his release, he moved with his family to a new home, but things did not get better. Neighbors said that he and his wife argued loudly almost every night. Yeo also had serious issues with jealousy. He often suspected his wife without reason and became very angry. On top of that, he was using drugs, especially methamphetamine. At that time, drugs were spreading quickly in the area. Yeo was known to use meth often. This drug is very dangerous and can cause strong hallucinations. People who use it can lose control of their thoughts and actions. After the autopsy, police confirmed that Yeo was under the influence of meth at the time of his death. Police then put together what likely happened. Early that morning, Yeo came home while high on drugs. He got into a fight with his wife. Because of the drugs, he started to hallucinate. In his confused state, he may have seen his wife and children as something scary or threatening. He lost control completely. He took a knife from the kitchen and attacked his wife and 2 sons. After killing them, he placed their bodies together, covered them with a blanket, and set it on fire. Then he left the apartment, went to the staircase, took off his clothes, and hanged himself. This case shocked everyone because of how violent and tragic it was. TikToker Yongin case. This case is about a young woman named Yongin, a TikTok creator from South Korea. She was in her early 20s and had more than 300,000 followers online. She loved making videos, going live, and talking to her fans. Her dream was to become a famous actress one day, and she used social media to try to reach that goal. People who knew her said she was kind, cheerful, and very close to her family. A man named Choi, who was in his 50s, entered her life. Online, he used the name Black Cat. He told people he was the CEO of a company that helped content creators become famous. In reality, he did not have a real company. He worked alone and tried to look rich by buying expensive things using borrowed money. Choi started managing small creators, mostly young women. He kept taking loans and was unable to pay them back. This made him stressed, angry, and more controlling. In 2025, Choi approached Jia. He told her he could help her grow fast and become famous. Jia believed him because her follower count started increasing quickly after working with him. She agreed to give him 40% of her earnings. At first, things seemed good. Her account grew, and she earned more money. But soon Choi started making strict and strange demands. He forced her to do long live streams every day, sometimes up to 8 hours. He also made her install a tracking app so he could always know where she was. Jia became very tired and stressed. Later, she found out the truth about Choi. She learned that he was deeply in debt and had a violent past. He had even been arrested before for hurting another creator. This scared her. When Jia told Choi she wanted to stop working with him, he became desperate. She was his biggest source of money, and without her, he knew he would lose everything. He begged her to stay, but she refused and cut contact with him. On September 11th, 2025, Jia was on an island doing a live stream. She ended the stream at around 3 p.m., smiling and thanking her followers. Less than 30 minutes later, security cameras showed Choi forcing her into his car after an argument. Inside the car, he attacked her in anger. He beat her badly and then strangled her, causing her death. After that, he put her body in a suitcase and drove to a remote mountain area. He left the suitcase there, hoping no one would find it quickly. He even sent fake messages from her phone to her family to make it seem like she was still alive. The next day, her family became worried when they could not reach her. They reported her missing. Police started searching and checked security cameras. They soon saw the moment she was taken and traced the car back to Choi. A few days later, a man found the suitcase in a remote area. Inside was Jia's body. They also found strong evidence, including fingerprints, DNA, and camera footage. Choi was found nearby and arrested. At first, he denied everything, but later he confessed. He said he did it because he was desperate and angry after losing her and his money. The case shocked the whole country. Many people were saddened by what happened to Jia. Her fans held online memorials to remember her. The case of Lady Aum is one of the most shocking crime stories from South Korea in the early 2000s. She was born in 1976 and grew up in a well-off family. People who knew her said she looked kind, calm, and friendly. She had a good life and did not have money problems. But behind this normal image, she was hiding something very dark. In her early 20s, she got married and had a daughter. Not long after, her daughter died after falling from a high place. The details of this event are unclear, and she was never charged for it. Soon after, she turned on her husband. One day, she gave her husband a drink mixed with sleeping pills. When he fell asleep, she attacked his eyes with a hairpin, which made him go blind. People around her did not suspect her. She acted like a caring and loving wife, and everyone believed her. About a year later, she burned her husband's face with hot oil. He survived, but suffered badly. Then, sometime later, she stabbed him. The first time did not kill him, but she attacked again. He was taken to the hospital, but later died due to organ failure. After his death, she told others that her husband had hurt himself. Because of this, she was able to claim a large amount of insurance money. Not long after, she found a new man and got married again. She even became pregnant. But only 9 months into the marriage, she did the same thing again. She gave her second husband sleeping pills and attacked his eyes, making him blind. Just like before, she acted like a caring wife while he was in the hospital. His family trusted her and thought she was kind. But over time, he kept getting hurt and weak. One day after his family visited him and saw that he seemed fine, he suddenly died later that night. After his death, she again received insurance money. She then cut ties with his family and disappeared. She had told her second husband's family many false things about her life, including her job and her background. After spending all the money, she looked for new targets. This time, she turned on her own family. She gave sleeping pills to her mother and younger brother and attacked their eyes, trying to blind them. Her brother survived, and when he was in the hospital, she even tried to poison him but failed. She then convinced her family to sell property and took the money. When they became suspicious, she tried to kill her brothers by setting their home on fire. They were badly injured but survived. Later, she stayed with a babysitter who helped her. But instead of being thankful, she set that house on fire too. The babysitter survived, but her husband died and her child was badly hurt. By this point, she had gained a large amount of money through insurance and other crimes. Later, her young son became sick and needed treatment. She had no money left, so she stole a woman's credit card at a hospital and used it. When she feared being caught, she attacked that woman in the same way, using sleeping pills and injuring her eyes. She even tried to set the hospital on fire, but this time she was caught on CCTV. When police questioned her, she gave many lies. She said she did all this because of drug addiction, but tests showed no drugs in her body. In court, she tried to say she was not mentally well, but the court did not accept this. She showed no regret for her actions and blamed her behavior on personal sadness. In the end, it became clear that she had used lies, charm, and trust to hurt many people, even her own family. Lee Ki-young. In December 2022, on Christmas Day, a woman went to the police with a terrifying claim. She said that she found a dead body inside the closet of her boyfriend's apartment. Her boyfriend was Lee Ki-young. When the police arrived and checked the apartment, they did find a dead man hidden inside the closet. The victim was a taxi driver in his 60s. His family had already been worried because he had not come home for a few days. Police soon learned what had happened. A few days earlier, on December 20th, Lee had been drinking alcohol after meeting his girlfriend's parents. Even though he had a past record of drunk driving, he still decided to drive. While driving, he made an illegal turn and crashed into the taxi driver's car. After the accident, Lee asked the taxi driver not to call the police. He told him that he would give him money to settle the matter privately. He then convinced the driver to come to his apartment, saying he had cash there. However, this was a lie. Once the driver entered the apartment, Lee attacked and killed him. After this, Lee hid the body in his closet. For the next few days, he pretended to be the taxi driver by using his phone. When the family sent messages, Lee replied, making excuses so they would not worry too much. At the same time, he used the victim's credit cards and even took out a loan in the victim's name. He spent the money on expensive things like hotel stays, food, and gifts for his girlfriend. When Lee was arrested, the case became even more disturbing. Police found out that the apartment he was living in was not even his. It belonged to a woman in her 50s. When they asked about her, Lee suddenly confessed that he had also killed her months earlier in August 2022. This woman had been his girlfriend. After killing her, Lee got rid of her body. Just like with the taxi driver, Lee pretended that this woman was still alive. He used her phone and social media to send messages to her family and friends, telling them she was busy and could not talk. He also used her identity to take out loans and spend her money. As police continued to investigate, they found more strange details. Lee had no real job and no stable income. He often lied to people, telling them he was rich and came from a wealthy family. He met many people and even had several girlfriends in a short time. In 2022 alone, he had contact with hundreds of people. In the end, police believed that Lee was someone who lied constantly and used people for money. He built a fake life and took advantage of others. Gimhae Case. On January 17, 1992, police in Cheongju received an urgent call from a young woman named Gimhae. She said that a robber had broken into her house and killed her father. When the police arrived, they found the house messy and a man lying dead on a bed. He had been stabbed many times and was only wearing underwear. It looked like a robbery at first. Gimhae seemed scared, but she was also strangely calm. This made the police suspicious. As they looked closer, things did not add up. There were no signs that someone had forced their way into the house. Also, the father looked like he had not fought back at all. It seemed like he was the main target, not a victim of a random robbery. Police found fingerprints at the scene. These belonged to a 21-year-old man named Kim Jin-gwon, who went to the same university as Gimhae. 2 days later, he was arrested. She then confessed that she and her boyfriend had planned the murder together. After her arrest, the truth came out and it shocked the entire country. Gimhae had lived a very painful life. When she was a child, her mother remarried a man named Kim Yong-go. At first, things were normal. But when she was about 9 years old, her stepfather started abusing her when her mother was not around. Over time, the abuse became worse and more frequent. Her mother found out, but was too scared to stop him because he was violent. The stepfather became even more bold and continued his actions without fear. Gimhae later said that this abuse went on for many years. He controlled her with threats and fear. He even threatened to kill her if she told anyone. The man was also very powerful, working as a high-ranking official. Because of this, Kim Bo-eun believed no one would help her. She met Kim Jin-gwan, and they fell in love. For the first time, she felt some happiness. After some time, she told him everything about her past. He was shocked and wanted to help her escape. He tried to face her stepfather, but the man threatened both of them. They felt trapped and believed there was no safe way out. So they made a plan to kill him and make it look like a robbery. After the truth came out, the case became very famous. During the trial, her lawyers argued that she had lived in fear for many years and was not in a normal state of mind. They also said her boyfriend acted to protect her. However, the court did not fully accept these arguments. In the end, both were found guilty. Kim Jin-gwan was sentenced to prison, and Kim Bo-eun also received a sentence. Later, her punishment was reduced, and she was eventually pardoned. Miryang gang assault case. The Miryang gang assault case is a very sad and disturbing story about a young girl who was badly treated by a group of boys. It started when a 14-year-old girl named Choi tried to call her friend, but she dialed the wrong number. A boy named Kim answered. They began talking and slowly became friendly. Over the next few months, they talked often on the phone and sent messages. The girl trusted him and thought he was a good friend, but she did not know the truth. Kim was part of a large group of teenage boys. This group later tricked her. Kim introduced her to another boy named Pak, who was like the leader. They all acted kind and friendly for a long time to gain her trust. In January 2004, the girl agreed to meet Kim in person. She went to a house, thinking she would meet him alone. But when she arrived, many boys were there. They attacked her, hurt her badly, and then assaulted her. They also recorded what they did. After that, they threatened her. They told her that if she told anyone, they would share the video online. Because of fear, she stayed silent. The boys used the video to control her. Over the next 11 months, they forced her to come back many times. Each time she was abused again by different boys. The number of boys involved each time could be many. The situation became even worse. The boys forced her to bring other girls. They knew about her cousin and made her bring her. Her cousin was also harmed. Later, they forced her to bring her older sister, and she also became a victim. The boys recorded many of these crimes to keep control over them. At one point, the girl could not take it anymore. When Kim called her again, she refused. He reminded her about the videos. She became very scared and finally told her mother everything. Together, they went to the police. But the police did not treat her well. An officer did not believe her and blamed her instead. She was forced to face the boys directly during identification, which made her very afraid. Some police officers even shared her identity with others, which made things worse. At first, only a few boys were arrested, but when the case became known online, many people became angry. Because of public pressure, more boys were arrested. It was later found that there were more victims, not just her. In total, several girls had been harmed. Even then, many of the boys did not face serious punishment. Some were sent to juvenile centers, and others were not punished at all. The families of the boys even threatened the victims. Some people blamed the victims instead of supporting them. The girl's own life became very difficult. Her family situation was also bad, and she did not receive proper support. She suffered deeply from what happened. She had to move to another place, but even there, she faced problems and fear. Her mental health became very weak, and she struggled for many years. In the end, many of the people responsible did not receive strong punishment, and the case became known as a symbol of injustice. Shin Chang. This is the story of Shin Chang, a man who became very famous in Korea for escaping prison. Shin had a very hard childhood. He grew up in a very poor area with many siblings. His mother died from cancer when he was young, and his father was very strict and often hit the children. Later, his stepmother did not care much about the family either. At school, things were not better. Teachers were harsh and would insult or punish students, especially if they did not bring money. One day, a teacher insulted Shin and sent him away. Shin later said this moment changed him. From a young age, he started running away from home and stealing food like chickens and fruit. He was very fast, so people could not catch him easily. When he was 14, he was caught by the police. His father told the police to lock him up, which made Shin feel betrayed. After that, his stealing became worse. When Shin was 22, he took part in a robbery with friends. During the robbery, the store owner died. Because of this, Shin was sent to prison for life in 1994. He was sent to a very strict prison in Busan. Shin could not accept living in prison forever. He decided to escape no matter what. While working in a wood workshop in prison, he secretly took a small saw and hid it in his shoe. Every day, during a time when guards were less alert, he slowly cut through a small metal air vent in the bathroom. He did this for 20 minutes every day for 4 months. The hole was very small, so Shin lost a lot of weight by eating very little for 2 months. After that, he was able to fit through the hole. Then he dug through the ground and reached a construction site near the prison wall. Using tools there, he climbed over the wall and escaped. The whole escape took about 2 hours. After his escape, there was a big search for him. Shin stayed on the run for a long time. During this time, he stole money, cars, and other things to survive. But something surprising also happened. He sometimes gave money and food to poor people and elderly homes. This made some people see him as kind, even though he was a criminal. About 10 days after escaping, Shin met a woman who worked at a coffee shop. He was kind to her, and they started to like each other. Soon, they began a relationship and even lived together. Their neighbors thought they were a normal couple. However, Shin continued stealing, and the woman helped him by selling stolen items. Shin stayed free for many months. He often changed his look and even wore long sleeves to hide his tattoos. He also gave money to workers, which made people notice him. One worker became suspicious and informed the police. The police tried to catch Shin many times, but he kept escaping. He was strong and fast, and sometimes even fights with police did not stop him. However, after about 2.5 years on the run, someone finally reported seeing a man who looked like him. This time, many police officers surrounded the place where he was staying. Shin had no way to escape and was finally caught in July 1999. After being caught, he received extra years in prison for his escape and crimes. Even though he was a criminal, many young people admired him at that time. They saw him as a rebel who stood against a hard system. In prison, Shin later studied and even wrote letters about his life. He said his difficult childhood played a big role in who he became. He also said that children who grow up with love and care may not become criminals like him. Incheon Elementary School murder. On March 29, 2017, a very shocking and sad crime happened in Incheon, South Korea. A 17-year-old girl named Kim Jeon kidnapped and killed a young elementary school girl. The victim was only in 2nd grade. This case made many people very upset and scared, not only in South Korea but around the world. Kim Jeon had met another young woman named Park online about 2 months before the crime. They talked often and became very close. Their relationship was strange and unhealthy. Park had a strong influence over Kim and often acted like she was in control. Kim seemed to want to impress Park and make her happy. On the day of the crime, Kim went to a playground where children were playing. Around 12:45 p.m., a little girl came up to her and asked if she could use her phone to call her mother. Kim lied and said her phone was not working. Then she told the child that she could use a phone at her home instead. The child trusted her and went with her. Kim lived in an apartment building. She tried to avoid security cameras by getting off on a different floor and using the stairs. She took the child to her home. At first, things seemed normal. The child even played with Kim's cat. But soon after, Kim killed the young girl. While this was happening, Kim was sending messages to Park. She told her what she was doing. Park asked questions and showed interest instead of stopping her. After the murder, Kim cut the body and kept some parts because Park had asked for them. Later that day, Kim hid the rest of the body in a water tank on the roof of the building. After that, she changed her clothes and went out to meet Park. They met in a busy area and spent hours together. Kim gave Park a bag that had some body parts inside. They even ate food together and acted like nothing had happened. Meanwhile, the victim's family became worried when she did not come home. They found her school bag at the playground and called the police. The police checked security cameras and saw the child entering the apartment building. They started searching the building. That night, the body was found on the roof. Soon after, the police focused on Kim as a suspect. When they searched her home, they found evidence of the crime. Kim later confessed and was arrested. At first, Kim gave many different reasons for what she did. Sometimes she said she could not remember. Other times, she blamed her actions on mental problems. She claimed she had more than one personality. However, experts said she knew what she was doing and understood her actions. Park was also arrested later. She was accused of helping and encouraging the crime. During the trial, both of them blamed each other. Kim said Park pushed her to do it, while Park denied this. In the end, the court gave Kim a 20-year prison sentence. Park was first given life in prison, but later her sentence was reduced to 13 years after an appeal. The court decided she was not fully involved in planning the murder, but still played a role. Daegu subway fire. On the 18th of February 2003, a very tragic event took place in the city of Daegu in South Korea. A fire broke out inside a subway train, and it quickly turned into one of the worst disasters in the country's history. The fire was not an accident. It was started on purpose by a man named Kim Dae-han. Kim was a taxi driver, but after having a stroke in 2001, he could no longer work. His health became worse over time, both physically and mentally. He felt lonely and believed that he had been treated badly at a hospital where he went for help. Because of this, he became very angry and upset. On the morning of the incident, Kim filled 2 milk cartons with gasoline and placed them in a bag along with a lighter. He then went to a subway station and got on a train. At around 9:45 a.m., while the train was moving, he took out the cartons and tried to light them. Other passengers noticed what he was doing and tried to stop him. During the struggle, one of the cartons broke and gasoline spilled on the floor. As the train arrived at Junggangno Station, the gasoline caught fire. Flames spread very quickly inside the train. The inside of the train was made mostly of plastic and similar materials which burned easily and created thick, dark smoke. Kim himself was badly burned, but he managed to escape along with some other passengers when the doors opened. However, the fire continued to grow and spread to other parts of the train. At the same time, another train entered the station from the opposite direction. The driver of this second train had been told to be careful, but was not fully aware of how serious the situation was. When his train stopped, it was soon affected by the fire as well. For a short moment, the doors of the second train opened, but they were closed again to stop smoke from coming inside. Around the same time, the power supply to both trains was shut off automatically because of the fire. Without power, many of the doors could not be opened properly. The driver of the second train told passengers to stay calm and wait while he asked for instructions. After some delay, he was told to leave the train. He quickly opened the doors and escaped. But as he left, he took a key with him that was needed to keep the train systems working. Because of this, some doors stopped working completely and stayed shut. Many passengers were trapped inside the burning train and could not get out. Sadly, all of them lost their lives. Thick smoke filled the station, making it very hard to see or breathe. People trying to escape became confused and lost their way. Some fell on the stairs while trying to get out, not realizing that others had already collapsed there. Firefighters arrived quickly, but the smoke was so heavy and dangerous that they could not enter the station right away. The fire burned for more than 3 hours before it was finally put out. By the time it was safe to go inside, there were no survivors left in the train. In total, 192 people died and more than 150 were injured. Many of the victims could not be identified easily because of the damage caused by the fire. Some passengers in their final moments sent messages to their families to say goodbye. Kim Dae-han was arrested and later given a life sentence. The disaster also showed many problems in the subway system, especially in safety and emergency response. Baekhwa Distillery. In April 1978, a very sad and strange case happened in South Korea. a high school girl was found dead at a distillery. Even today, many people still wonder what really happened because the truth is not fully clear. The girl was named Kim. She was about 18 years old and was known for being very pretty. She came from a poor family, but people said she was kind and gentle. She had a boyfriend named Kang who was also 18. His father was connected to the distillery where the girl was later found. On April 8, 1978, Kim's body was found inside a large liquor barrel at the distillery. A worker discovered her. It was later believed that her body had been there for about a month before anyone found it. Because the distillery was well known and sold popular alcohol, the news spread quickly. Some people even believed rumors that the liquor from that barrel had been sold, which made the story even more disturbing. Before her death, there were many rumors about Kim. People said she had many boys interested in her, and some spread bad stories about her behavior. When Kang heard these rumors, he became very angry. On that day, Kang went to Kim's house and asked her to come with him. He took her to a lab inside the distillery. There, he questioned her about the rumors. Kim kept saying that the rumors were not true. According to Kang's story, Kim tried to prove her innocence by taking off her clothes. He said that during the argument, she suddenly fainted and became unconscious. He thought she had died. Kang then said that he put her body into a liquor barrel. If she was still alive at that time, she may have drowned. After that, he took her clothes and left, trying to make it look like she had taken her own life. Many people did not believe his story. Some people also said that the cold surface of the barrel should have made her wake up if she was still alive. The case was very hard to solve. At that time, the country did not have good forensic tools, so there was little evidence. Only Kang knew what really happened, and the police had to depend mostly on his words. The police even used a lie detector test, which was very new at the time. Kang was asked several questions, and the test suggested he was lying. This led to more questioning and eventually his confession. Kang was charged with murder. At first, he was supposed to get a 10-year sentence, but this was reduced to 5 years, and then finally to just 3 years in prison. The court said that he did not mean to kill her and thought she was already dead when he hid her body. Many people felt this was unfair. Some believed his rich family helped him get a lighter punishment. Kim's family was left heartbroken. They believed their daughter was innocent and kind. Lee Sun-kyun's death. The case of Lee Sun-kyun is a sad and shocking story. He was a well-known actor in South Korea. Many people knew him from the movie Parasite, which won an Oscar. He also acted in popular dramas like Coffee Prince, Pasta, and My Mister. He was respected for his work and had a strong career. In October 2023, his name suddenly appeared in the news. Reports said that a famous actor called L was being investigated for possible drug use. The police confirmed that this actor was Lee Sun-kyun. This news spread very fast, and many people started talking about it. The police investigation was based on claims made by a woman who worked at a nightclub. She said that Lee had used illegal drugs. Because of this, the police began looking into the case. However, when Lee was tested, the results came back negative. No drugs were found in his system. Even though there was no clear proof, the news about Lee continued every day. Many media outlets reported on the case again and again. Lee said he was innocent and explained that he thought he had only taken sleeping pills, not drugs. He strongly denied all accusations and wanted a fair investigation. As the case went on, things became more stressful for him. A YouTube channel released a private phone call between Lee and the woman who accused him. This recording was not related to the drug case, but it was still shared with the public. After that, even more news stories came out. The situation became very messy, and Lee's personal life was exposed to everyone. Lee was under a lot of pressure. His reputation was damaged, and he faced possible financial loss because of broken contracts. His career, which he had built over many years, was now in danger. He also had a family, including his wife and children, which made the situation even harder. The day before his death, Lee asked for a lie detector test. He wanted to prove that he was telling the truth. He hoped this would clear his name. However, he did not get the chance to do this. On December 27, 2023, Lee Kyun was found dead in his car near a park in Seoul. Emergency workers arrived, but he had already passed away. His manager had called the police after being unable to contact him. When the manager went to Lee's home, he found a note that seemed to be a final message. After months of constant reports and public attention, his story ended in a tragic way. Even after his death, some media continued to mention the drug accusations, despite the negative test results. Lee Kyun's case shows how quickly a person's life can change. From being a respected actor, he became the center of a major investigation and public discussion. Soldiers of Christ. In 2023, a very shocking case came to light in Atlanta. It started when a man named Eric Hun called his stepfather and said he was in a lot of pain. He could barely move and needed to go to the hospital. His stepfather quickly picked him up and took him there. Eric left his car behind at a sauna. While at the hospital, Eric told his stepfather that he had left something important in his car and asked him to go get it. His stepfather went back, searched the car, but could not find anything. Then he opened the trunk. As soon as he did, a terrible smell came out. Inside, wrapped in a blanket, was the body of a woman. She was very thin and had clearly been there for some time. The police were called right away. This discovery started a big investigation. Soon the police found a house connected to the case. When they arrived, the house looked normal and clean. But inside the basement, things were different. There was a strong smell of cleaning products, and there were signs that blood had been there. This house belonged to the Lee family. They were very religious and were known in their community as people of strong faith. Some of the family members had started a group called the Soldiers of Christ. On the outside, it sounded like a normal religious group, but in reality, it was not. A woman named Sae Cho became involved with them. She had gone through a very hard time in her life and was looking for comfort and healing through religion. The Lee family seemed kind and helpful. She even moved in with them for some time. The group told her that to grow stronger in her faith, she had to go through a special process. This included long periods of prayer and fasting. But what they asked her to do was extreme. She was not given enough food at all. She was forced to pray for many hours every day. She was also not allowed to live freely. Things became worse. The group believed that she had a bad spirit inside her. They said they had to fix her. In reality, they were hurting her. She was beaten, punished, and treated very badly. She became very weak over time because she was not eating and was being hurt. Another member of the group, Eric Hun, was also treated badly. He was beaten and forced to give money to the group. It was clear that the leaders were controlling people and using fear. Sae Cho tried to escape at one point. She ran upstairs and begged for help. She was taken back to the basement, and the abuse continued. The group even recorded videos of what they were doing to her. After weeks of this, her body could not take it anymore. She died from starvation and abuse. Instead of reporting it, the group tried to hide what had happened. Her body was placed in Eric's car. In the end, the truth came out. The police arrested the people involved. In court, they showed the evidence, including messages and video. The group members stayed quiet and showed no clear reason for what they had done. This case showed how dangerous it can be when people use religion in the wrong way. Sae Cho was only looking for peace and healing, but she was taken advantage of by people who wanted control. Woo Yuan Chun case. On 1st April 2012 in South Korea, a 28-year-old woman was walking home late at night. She had finished work at her store and had also done some shopping, so it was much later than usual. It was around 11 p.m. when she started walking through small streets toward her home. While walking, she saw a man coming out of a house. He looked drunk and was not walking properly. She tried to avoid him and passed by quietly, but as she passed, her shoulder lightly touched him. She quickly said sorry and tried to move on. However, the man was very drunk and got angry. He did not listen to her apology and started arguing with her. The woman did not want any trouble. She apologized again and tried to leave, but the man felt insulted and kept arguing. Then suddenly he forced her and dragged her into his house. Inside the house, he took her into a room and threw her on the bed. The woman was shocked and scared. She did not understand what was happening. The man, who was 48 years old, then offered her money to stay with him for the night. The woman realized he had misunderstood her and thought she was a prostitute. She refused and tried to leave, but the man did not let her go. When she tried to escape, he grabbed her hair and pulled her back into the room. He locked the door and tried to force himself on her. The woman fought back. She scratched his face badly and tried her best to protect herself. Because of the scratches, the man's face started bleeding. He got up and went to the bathroom, which was outside the room. Seeing this chance, the woman quickly locked the door from inside and looked for a way to escape. There was only a small window, but it was too small for her to get out. Then she saw the man's phone and quickly called the police. She tried to explain that she had been kidnapped and needed help. While she was on the call, she heard the man coming back. She became very scared and tried to give her location quickly. The man returned and knocked on the door. When she did not open it, he broke the door and came inside. He saw her trying to escape through the window. He pulled her back, tied her to a chair with tape, and even covered her mouth so she could not scream. After some time, he went outside to smoke and later fell asleep. Early in the morning, he woke up again and tried once more to attack her. The woman was still fighting, even after being tied up. This made him very angry. In his anger, he hit her badly. Then he picked up a metal rod and hit her on the head. She became unconscious. Thinking she was dead, he left the room for a while. But when he returned, he saw slight movement in her body. Then, in a very brutal act, he killed her. Later, he started cutting her body into pieces to hide the crime. Meanwhile, the police were searching for the woman because of her call. A neighbor told them she had heard a woman screaming during the night. The police went to that house and looked inside. They broke in and found the man inside with clear signs of the crime. He was arrested immediately. During questioning, he admitted everything. He said he was drunk, got angry, and attacked her. This was a very tragic and shocking case where a simple situation turned into a terrible crime. In 1987, a South Korean passenger plane called Korean Air Flight 858 was on a long journey from Iraq to Seoul. The flight had 115 people on board, including passengers and crew. At first, everything seemed normal. The plane flew over the ocean without any problems. But about 9 hours after takeoff, the plane suddenly disappeared from radar. There was no warning, no distress call, and no sign of trouble. The whole country went into emergency mode. People hoped the plane had only lost communication or made an emergency landing somewhere. But soon, the truth started to come out. The plane had exploded in the air. It was not an accident. It was a planned attack. Everyone on board died instantly. Search teams were sent to the area where the plane was last seen, over the sea between Thailand and Myanmar. Helicopters and ships looked for any sign of the wreckage. For days, nothing was found. Later, small pieces of the plane and personal items were discovered floating in the water or caught in fishing nets. Many of these were lost or sold before people realized how important they were. The main wreckage was not found until 2 years later. On the same day, the plane disappeared. 2 passengers had gotten off during a stop in Abu Dhabi. They were a man and a young woman, pretending to be Japanese tourists. Soon officials discovered that their passports were fake. When they realized they had been caught, both of them tried to take their own lives using poison hidden in a cigarette case. The man died, but the woman survived after being rushed to the hospital. At first, authorities thought they were just criminals, but the use of poison raised suspicion, and the case became much more serious. The woman was later identified as Kim Hyun-hee, and the man as Kim Song-il. They were not tourists at all. They were agents from North Korea. They had been trained for this mission and were pretending to be father and daughter. During the investigation, it was revealed what they had done. Before boarding the plane, they had hidden a bomb inside a radio. The bomb was made in a way that it could pass through airport checks without being noticed. They placed the radio inside a bag and put it in the overhead compartment of the plane. When the plane stopped in Abu Dhabi, they quietly got off, leaving the bag behind. The bomb had a timer set for several hours later. As the plane continued its journey, the timer counted down. Then over the ocean, the bomb exploded. The force of the explosion destroyed the plane completely. Kim Hyun-hee was taken to South Korea for questioning. At first, she tried to hide the truth, but later she confessed. She said that she had been ordered to carry out the attack. The goal was to create fear and damage South Korea's image before the 1988 Olympics, which were going to be held in Seoul. She was put on trial and sentenced to death. However, she was later given a pardon. The government said she had been used and controlled, and they wanted her to speak about what happened. She stayed in South Korea, where she later wrote about her life and the attack. She also said she felt deep regret for what she had done. Lee Ho Seong. The case of Lee Ho Seong is one of the most shocking and mysterious crimes in South Korea. He was once a famous baseball star, loved by fans and respected by many people. On the outside, his life looked perfect, but behind that image, something was very wrong. Lee was born in 1967. He grew up to become a strong and talented baseball player. He played in the Korean League and even won awards for his skills. His team was very successful, and he became a well-known name in sports. Later, he became team captain and also led the players' union. After he retired in his early 30s, he started a wedding business. The business did very well, and he made a lot of money. He was also married and had a son. However, there were signs that Lee had a bad temper. Some people said he was very strict and even violent with younger players. Still, nothing at that time pointed to what would happen later. In 2007, Lee met a woman known as Miss Kim. She owned a small restaurant. Even though both of them were married, they started a relationship. Miss Kim had 3 daughters, aged 18, 17, and 11. Lee became very close to the family. The daughters trusted him so much that they even called him Dad. In February 2008, Miss Kim suddenly told people she was going on a short trip, but she never came back. Days passed, and her family became worried. After about 2 weeks, her brother called the police. When police checked her home, they found small spots of blood. Then they looked at CCTV footage. It showed a man going in and out of the apartment with large black bags. The man's face was not clear, but suspicion quickly fell on Lee because he was missing too. Police found that after the day Miss Kim disappeared, Lee had gone into hiding. He asked people to help him get phones, bank accounts, and places to stay. Soon after, the police made his name public. The next day, Lee was found dead. He had taken his own life. Not long after, police made a terrible discovery. Near his father's grave, they found bags buried in the ground. Inside were the bodies of Miss Kim and her 3 daughters. All of them had been killed. The investigation showed that Lee had planned this. He had even hired workers earlier to dig a deep hole, pretending it was for a memorial. In reality, he used it to hide the bodies. Police also found that Lee had serious money problems. Even though he once had a lot of money, he lost huge amounts in bad business deals and investments. He was deeply in debt. Before the crime, Miss Kim had taken out a large amount of money from the bank. Much of this money was later linked to Lee. It was also discovered that Lee was seeing multiple women at the same time. He gave large amounts of money to some of them shortly before his death. There is no clear answer. Lee never explained his actions. He left only short notes to his family, saying sorry, but he did not say why he committed the crime. Because he died, the full truth may never be known. Koh Yu Jeong was a woman from Jeju Island in South Korea. In May 2019, she was involved in one of the most shocking murder cases in the country. The victim was her ex-husband, known as Mr. Kang. He had not seen his young son for about 2 years because Koh would not allow it. He kept trying through the courts, and finally he was given permission to meet his son regularly. Soon after this, Koh suddenly agreed to meet him for a weekend trip with their child. Mr. Kang was very happy and agreed right away. On May 25, 2019, the 3 of them met and went to a guest house on Jeju Island. CCTV footage showed them entering together. However, after that, Mr. Kang was never seen leaving. The next day, Koh left the guest house with their son. A day later, she returned alone and was seen leaving again with suitcases and garbage bags, which she threw away. This raised suspicion because there was no sign of Mr. Kang anywhere. When his family could not contact him, they reported him missing. At first, Koh told the police that Mr. Kang had tried to attack her and then ran away, but this story did not match the CCTV footage. Police later searched the guest house and found blood in many areas using special tests, even though the place had been cleaned. This made it clear that something serious had happened there. When police searched Koh's home, they found knives and a saw with Mr. Kang's blood on them. They also found blood in her car. Soon after, Koh was arrested. During questioning, she changed her story. She admitted that she had killed him, but said it was self-defense. However, more evidence showed that this was not true. Police found that Mr. Kang had sleeping drugs in his body. Koh had a prescription for these drugs just days before the murder. This suggested that she had drugged him before attacking him. Investigators also found that she had searched online for things like how to clean blood, fatal doses, and weight of bones. This made it seem like the crime was planned in advance. Police believe that after arriving at the guest house, Koh made dinner and secretly put sleeping pills in Mr. Kang's food. After he fell asleep, she attacked him with a knife. He tried to escape, but was too weak and died from his injuries. After the murder, she cut his body into pieces and tried to get rid of them. She threw some parts into the sea from a ferry and possibly disposed of others in different places. Despite many searches, his body was never found. The case became even more disturbing when people learned that her young son was in the house at the time. It is not clear how much he saw, but he was present during that night. There were also questions about the death of her stepson, who had died a few months earlier. However, there was not enough proof to charge her in that case. In February 2020, Koh Yu Jeong was found guilty of murdering her ex-husband and hiding his body. She was sentenced to life in prison. Many people were angry and believed she should receive a harsher punishment, but the court kept the life sentence. Yongin family murder. The Yongin family murder case began in October 2017 in South Korea. It was a very shocking and cruel crime where 3 members of one family were killed. The victims were a mother, her teenage son, and her husband. The main suspect was the older son of the family, a man named Kim Song-won. The case was first discovered on October 25, 2017. A woman went to visit her older sister because she had not been able to contact her for a few days. When she reached the apartment, she noticed something strange. The door code had been changed, and no one was answering. She felt worried and called emergency services. When firefighters and police arrived, they could not open the door normally, so they entered from above. Inside the apartment, everything looked very clean, which felt unusual. While searching the house, they found something covered with a blanket on the balcony. When they looked closer, they found 2 bodies. The bodies were of the mother and her young son. Both had been attacked with a knife, and their injuries were very severe. Their bodies had also been badly damaged. This made the case even more disturbing. The next day, police found the body of the father. His body was inside a rental car in a parking area in another city. It became clear that all 3 family members had been killed. After checking CCTV cameras, police saw that the older son, Kim Song-won, had visited the home a few days before the bodies were found. He quickly became the main suspect. Police later found out what had happened. Kim had been having money problems. After his marriage, he had been asking his mother for money again and again. At first she helped him, but later she refused. This caused anger and tension between them. On October 21st, Kim went to his mother's house. There he attacked and killed his mother and his younger stepbrother. After that, he took his mother's phone and pretended to be her. He then called his stepfather and asked him to meet. When they met, Kim told him they were going to look at a property for sale. While they were traveling, Kim took him to a quiet place with no cameras. There he attacked and killed him as well. After committing the murders, Kim put his stepfather's body in the trunk of a rental car and left it in a parking lot. Then he returned to Seoul. Soon after, Kim took a large amount of money from his mother's bank account. He his wife, and their two young daughters then left for New Zealand. They tried to start a new life there, buying expensive things like a car and furniture. However, people around them became suspicious. The family suddenly seemed very rich, which did not match their past. Some people reported this to authorities. Police in New Zealand were informed and Kim was arrested. He was later sent back to South Korea about 70 days after the crime. His wife also returned to Korea with their children. During questioning, Kim claimed that the crime happened by accident during a fight, but police did not believe him. They found strong evidence that the crime was planned, such as the use of a knife and a rental car. In 2018, the court gave Kim a life sentence in prison. His wife was also punished and received 8 years in prison because she was believed to have helped in some way, even though she said she did not know about the murders. Garak Stalking Murder Case. The Garak Stalking Murder Case happened in Seoul in 2016. It is a very sad story about a woman who lost her life because of an obsessive ex-boyfriend. The victim was a woman in her early 30s. She had a good job and lived with her family. In 2015, she met a man through a friend, and they started dating. At first, everything seemed normal. The man was kind and caring, and he even visited her parents often. But after some time, his behavior started to change. He became very controlling. He wanted to know where she was all the time and who she was with. If she didn't tell him every detail, he would get angry. They started arguing more and more. The woman began to feel uncomfortable and scared. She also found out that the man had lied about his job. This made her trust him even less. After about 8 months, she decided to slowly end the relationship. However, the man could not accept the breakup. He became obsessed with her. He started sending messages, calling her again and again, and even following her. He also made threats. Sometimes he said he would hurt himself, and other times he said he would hurt her and her family. One day he told her very clearly that he knew where she lived and where her family worked. He threatened to kill them if she left him. This made her very scared, but she still tried to stay strong and keep her distance. Her family also became worried. They reported him to the police for stalking, but nothing serious was done. He only received a small fine, which made him even more angry. After that, her parents started going with her when she left the house to keep her safe. For a short time, things became quiet, and it seemed like he had stopped, but he was still watching her. He would hide nearby and keep track of her movements. The woman continued to refuse him and made it clear that the relationship was over. Then on April 19, 2016, the tragedy happened. That morning, the woman was at home getting ready for work. Her father had been staying home to protect her, but that day she asked him to go out for a walk. She thought it would be safe. Soon after her father left, the doorbell rang. It was her ex-boyfriend. It is believed that he had been watching the house and knew she was alone. She became terrified and tried to run away. CCTV cameras later showed her running out of the apartment and into the parking lot, screaming for help. The man chased her while holding a knife. She ran barefoot and fell to the ground. The man caught up to her and stabbed her several times in front of other people, including security guards and residents. Even when people tried to help, he threatened them with the knife. After the attack, he ran away on a motorcycle. The woman was taken to the hospital, but she had already died because of her injuries. The police quickly found and arrested the man the next day. When he was caught, he first claimed that he did not mean to kill her, but evidence showed that he had planned the attack. He had brought weapons and other dangerous items with him. During the trial, he made many excuses and even tried to blame the victim. He said he acted out of love, but his actions showed clear violence and control. In the end, he was sentenced to life in prison. Jo Song-ho Case. The Jo Song-ho case is a very disturbing story from South Korea in 2016. On May 1, 2016, a shocking discovery was made in the city of Ansan. Around the afternoon, a person found the lower half of a man's body inside a sack near a drain. The police were called right away. They quickly started a big investigation and searched the nearby area. The next day, hundreds of police officers and workers joined the search. They even used drones to look for more clues. Then on May 3rd, they found the upper half of the body in a lake about 11 kilometers away from the first location. This showed that the body had been cut into parts and dumped in different places. There was a CCTV camera near where the second part was found. The footage showed a young man taking something out of a rented car and leaving it near the water. This gave police an important lead. The body was in very bad condition, especially the face, so it was hard to identify who the victim was. Investigators worked carefully with the fingers to find fingerprints. At first, the prints were too damaged, but they kept trying and finally used a clearer finger to scan and compare with records. After checking millions of records, they were able to identify the victim as a 40-year-old man. The police then checked the victim's phone records. This led them to a man he lived with named Jo Song-ho. On May 5th, police went to their shared home. Inside, they found blood on the walls. When they questioned Jo Song-ho, he quickly confessed to the crime. At first, he said the killing happened during a fight by accident, but later, he admitted the truth. He said he planned the murder. He attacked the victim while he was sleeping, hitting him many times with a hammer. After killing him, he kept the body in the bathroom for days. Over more than 10 days, he cut the body into parts. He stored them in the small bathroom and continued living his normal life in the same place. He even went to work and made plans with his girlfriend during this time. Later, he rented a car and threw the body parts in 2 different locations. What made it even more disturbing was how calm and normal he seemed. People who knew him said he was quiet and polite. Some could not believe he was capable of such a crime. As the investigation continued, more details came out. Jo Song-ho and the victim had been living together to save money. They had money problems and often argued. There was also a dispute about payment related to personal dealings between them. This created anger and tension. At one point, the victim told Jo Song-ho to move out. This made him more upset. He started planning the murder days before it happened. He even brought a hammer into the house and hid it. On the day of the crime, they argued again. The victim insulted him, and this pushed him over the edge. He attacked him with the hammer, then used a knife to continue the attack. After his arrest, Jo Song-ho said he was sorry, but many people felt his apology was not real. Experts also studied his behavior. They found that he did not have a serious mental illness, but he had low self-esteem and had trouble handling problems in a healthy way. The court first gave him a life sentence, but later, his sentence was reduced to 27 years in prison. He is expected to be released in the future after serving his time. The Burning Sun Club. The Burning Sun case is one of the biggest scandals in South Korea's entertainment world. It showed that behind fame and rich people, there can be very dark things happening. The story mainly connects to a famous K-pop star named Seungri, who was a member of the group Big Bang. He was very popular and also very interested in business. Over time, he opened and invested in many businesses like restaurants, clubs, and other companies. One of the most important places connected to him was a nightclub called Burning Sun. Burning Sun opened in February 2018 in a rich area of Seoul. It was known as a luxury club for wealthy people. The club became even more popular because Seungri was linked to it. His name was used in promotions, which brought in a lot of customers, including many young people and tourists. Prices inside the club were very high, but people still came because it was seen as a special and exclusive place. Everything seemed normal at first, but things changed after an incident in November 2018. A man named Kim went to the club as a regular customer. While he was there, he noticed a woman who looked like she had been drugged. She seemed confused and not fully aware of what was happening. Kim then saw 2 men taking advantage of her. He tried to stop them and help the woman, but instead of helping, the club staff turned on him. They beat him badly and forced him out of the club. Kim was injured with bruises and bleeding, but he still called the police. When the police arrived, something shocking happened. Instead of helping Kim, they arrested him. Even after he showed his injuries and explained what happened, he was treated like the criminal. This made him feel very angry and helpless. Kim later made a public petition where he shared his story. At first, not many people believed him. Some thought he was lying to damage the club's reputation. But later, CCTV footage from the club was released by a news channel. The video clearly showed Kim being beaten by staff and treated unfairly by police. After this, the case became very big. More people started paying attention, and the government ordered an investigation. What they found was much worse than anyone expected. Police discovered that Burning Sun was involved in many illegal activities. There were claims of drugs being used in the club, and women being secretly drugged and taken advantage of. There were also messages showing that women were being offered to rich customers, almost like they were being sold. Some women working there did not even know what was happening at first. Later, they were forced into these activities and given a small share of money to keep quiet. Another business linked to Seongri called Monkey Museum was also investigated. It was supposed to be a restaurant, but it was used for other illegal work and even tax fraud. Things got even worse when another scandal came out. A group chat involving several celebrities was exposed. In this chat, men were sharing illegal videos of women. Some of these videos were secretly recorded without consent. These women were often unconscious or unable to defend themselves. The public was shocked and angry. Many people involved were arrested, but some were not punished properly, which led to more anger. There were also signs of police corruption, with officers taking bribes and protecting the club. In the end, Seongri was charged with several crimes, including illegal business activities and other offenses. He left the entertainment industry and was later sentenced to prison. This case showed how power, money, and fame can hide very serious crimes. It also showed how hard it can be for victims to get justice, especially when powerful people are involved. Murder of Yoon Geum. Yoon Geum was born into a poor family in South Korea. She was the only daughter, and her parents loved her very much. But her life changed when her father became sick and passed away. She was only 17 years old at the time. Because of this, she had to stop her education and start working to support her family. She moved to the city and worked in factories, but the money was not enough. Later, she heard that she could earn more money near US military bases. So in 1992, when she was 26 years old, she moved to a camp town area. During the day, she sold flowers and sometimes begged on the streets. At night, she worked in a club called Crown Club, where she entertained US soldiers and sometimes had sex for money to survive. Even though her life was very hard, people who knew her said she was kind and caring. On October 28, 1992, something unusual happened. Yoon did not go to work, which worried her landlord. Around 4:30 in the evening, he went to check on her. When he called her, there was no answer. The door was unlocked, so he went inside. There was a bad smell in the room. What he found was very disturbing. Yoon was lying on the floor, dead. Her body showed clear signs of a violent attack. The police later said she died from heavy bleeding and damage to her body. The crime scene showed that she had been badly abused before her death. The police quickly started an investigation. Witnesses said that Yoon was seen the night before with a US soldier. She was very drunk, and the soldier helped take her home. This became an important clue. Just 3 days later, the police arrested a US soldier named Kenneth Lee Markle. He was 20 years old at the time. Police found a blood-stained shirt with him, and his fingerprints were found on a bottle at the scene. This strongly linked him to the crime. However, the case became more complicated because of an agreement called Status of Forces Agreement. This agreement meant that US soldiers in Korea were handled under US military rules. Because of this, Korean police had limited power to question him. This made many people in Korea very angry. There were protests in the streets. Many people demanded justice for Yoon. They also asked for changes in the agreement so that cases like this could be handled fairly. The trial began in 1993. At first, Kenneth Markle was given a life sentence. But later, his sentence was reduced to 15 years. He did not show much regret during the trial, and even tried to blame another soldier, but the court did not accept his story. In the end, he served time in prison and was later released early in 2006. After that, he returned to the United States. Because of this case and others, the agreement between the US and Korea was later updated in 2001. The new rules allowed Korean authorities to have more control in such cases. This is the story of a man named Lee Young-hak, who became known in South Korea as Molar Daddy. At first, many people felt sorry for him. He had a very rare disease that caused large growths in his gums and face. Because of this, he had many surgeries and was left with only one molar tooth. His young daughter had the same illness, which made people feel even more sympathy for them. Lee often appeared on TV shows with his daughter. He talked about their struggles and asked for help to pay for medical treatment. Many people trusted him and donated money. He was seen as a loving father who was doing his best for his child. But behind this image, he was hiding a very dark side. The tragic event began on September 30th, 2017. Lee's daughter invited her 15-year-old friend Kim to their house. The two girls had known each other since elementary school. When Kim came over, she was given a drink that had sleeping pills mixed into it. After a few hours, she fell asleep. At that point, Lee's daughter left the house, following her father's instructions. This left Kim alone with Lee. While she was unconscious, he abused her. The next day, when Kim woke up, Lee became afraid that she would tell someone what had happened. To stop her, he killed her. After this, Lee called his daughter back home. Together, they put Kim's body into a large bag and drove to a remote mountain area. They left her body there and returned home, trying to act normal. Meanwhile, Kim's parents became worried when they could not contact her. They reported her missing. At first, there was no strong clue about what had happened, but later CCTV footage showed Lee and his daughter carrying a large bag from their house and putting it into a car. This made the police suspicious. When police searched Lee's house, they found more evidence. They also discovered that Lee had already been under investigation for his wife's death just 1 month earlier. Soon after, police found Lee and his daughter unconscious from taking sleeping pills. It seemed like they had tried to harm themselves. During questioning, Lee first denied everything, but later he admitted that he had killed Kim. Her body was eventually found in the mountains. As the investigation continued, more shocking details about Lee's life came out. Even though he had received a lot of donation money over the years, only a small part of it was actually used for his daughter's medical care. He had a long history of fraud and bad behavior. There were also serious questions about his wife's death. She had fallen from a building and died. Lee claimed it was suicide, but many things did not add up. It was later found that he had forced his wife into doing illegal activities and had abused her for years. His daughter's role in the crime also shocked many people. It was believed that she was heavily controlled by her father and depended on him completely. Because of this, she followed his orders without questioning him. In court, Lee was first given the death penalty, but later it was changed to life in prison. His daughter, being a minor, received a shorter sentence. Deudeul River Mystery. This case is known as the Deudeul River Mystery. It happened many years ago and stayed unsolved for a long time. On a cold morning, February 4th, 2001, a shocking discovery was made. In a river in Naju, South Korea, the body of a high school girl was found. She was only 17 years old. Her last name was Park. She was found in the water, lying face down. She had no clothes on except her stockings. It was clear something terrible had happened to her. The police examined her body. They found signs that she had been strangled. The cause of death was drowning. There was also evidence that she had been sexually assaulted. The police even found DNA from a suspect. At first, they believed the case would be solved quickly because they had this strong evidence. But things were not that simple. Park lived in a different city called Gwangju. The place where her body was found was more than 15 kilometers away. This confused the police. They did not know how or why she ended up there. There was only one witness. A 17-year-old boy said he saw Park the night before. She was with two men near a butcher shop around 11:30 p.m. Even with this information, the police could not find the suspects. As time passed, the case went cold. The technology at that time was not advanced enough. For example, they could not get fingerprints from her body because it had been in the water. There were too many questions and not enough answers. Slowly, people stopped talking about the case. About 10 years later, something important changed. In 2010, South Korea created a DNA database system. This allowed police to store and compare DNA from criminals. This new system helped them look again at old cases. In 2012, there was a big breakthrough. Police found a match for the DNA from the case. It belonged to a man named Kim. He was 38 years old and already in prison for robbery and murder. When police looked closer, they found that he had lived near Park at the time of her death. It seemed like the case was finally solved, but Kim told a different story. He said he knew Park and that they were in a relationship. He claimed that they had agreed to have sex. He said he did not kill her. Because there was not enough proof at that time, prosecutors could not charge him for her murder. Later, the law changed again. The time limit for solving murder cases was removed. So in 2016, police reopened the case. This time, they found new clues. One important clue was Park's diary. In it, she had written the word magic. In Korea, this word can mean a woman is on her period. If this was true, it made Kim's story less believable. Experts studied photos from the crime scene again. They found signs of menstrual blood. Park's friend also said she had been on her period just before she disappeared. This made it less likely that she would have agreed to have sex. Kim's behavior also raised suspicion. After the crime, he suddenly committed another crime and went to prison. Police believed he may have done this on purpose to avoid being caught. He also got rid of his car around that time. Witnesses had seen a car near the river before the body was found. There was more. The way Park was killed was similar to another murder Kim had committed. In both cases, the victims were strangled and found without clothes. A key moment came when another prisoner spoke up. This man had shared a cell with Kim. He said Kim had confessed everything to him. He even knew details about the crime that only the killer would know. Experts also gave strong evidence. They said the attack and killing happened very quickly. The evidence showed that the sexual assault and the murder happened within just a few minutes. In the end, the court made its decision. In January 2017, Kim was sentenced to life in prison. He denied the crime until the very end, but the court believed the evidence against him. Later, the highest court confirmed this decision. Park's family suffered deeply. Her father could not handle the pain and later took his own life. Case of BJ Ah-young. On June 10, 2023, news spread that a South Korean woman in her 30s had died in Cambodia. She was later identified as Ah-young, a former online streamer and social media influencer with about 250,000 followers. Many people were shocked and confused about how she ended up dead in a foreign country. Ah-young had arrived in Cambodia on June 2nd. Just a few days later, on June 6th, her body was found at a construction site in Kandal province, which is about 40 minutes from Phnom Penh. A construction worker discovered a red cloth lying in a muddy water pit. It looked strange because it had not been there the day before. When police came and lifted the cloth, they found the body of a woman underneath. At first, her identity was not shared, but later, through personal items and fingerprints, she was confirmed to be Ah-young. Reports suggested she likely died around June 4th, just 2 days after arriving in Cambodia. The body was not hidden well, even though the area was quiet and not crowded. Also, a friend who had traveled with Ah-young did not report her missing and refused to speak to the police, saying they were too traumatized. Soon after, police arrested a Chinese couple who were running a small clinic. CCTV footage showed that on June 4th, Ah-young entered their clinic in the afternoon but never came out. Later that evening, the clinic suddenly turned off its lights for a short time, then reopened. Around midnight, the man was seen putting something into a car and driving away. The next day, Ah-young's body was found. The couple claimed that Ah-young suddenly had a seizure and died while receiving treatment at their clinic. They said they only moved her body because they were scared. However, their clinic was very small and did not look like a proper hospital. It did not even have proper medical equipment. Later reports from Cambodia said that Ah-young's body showed signs of injuries, including swelling on her face, possible fractures, burns, and a broken neck. But early police statements said there were no serious injuries. Experts believe the body being in water for 2 days may have made it harder to clearly see the injuries. Because of this, the case became unclear. The man later changed his story. He said Ah Young asked for an injection, then fell asleep, started foaming at the mouth, and died even after they tried to save her. His wife gave a different story. She claimed that Ah Young injected herself with some kind of drug, but this did not make sense to many people. If she could do it herself, why go to the clinic? It was later found that the couple did not have a proper medical license. This made things even more suspicious. Another strange detail was that all of Ah Young's belongings were neatly packed, except her phone, which was missing. This made experts think someone may have tried to hide evidence. There were also concerns because Ah Young was found in a strange condition. Some of her clothes were not worn properly, which raised questions about possible assault. However, without a full autopsy, it was hard to confirm anything. It is not clear whether Ah Young died from a medical mistake, an illegal treatment, or something more serious. The truth remains uncertain, and many people are still waiting for clear answers about what really happened to her. Gimhae Case. It is about a 15-year-old girl named Yoon. On March 15, 2014, Yoon suddenly ran away from home. She had just started high school and was still trying to adjust to her new life. Around that time, she met a 24-year-old man named Kim through a messaging app. He talked to her often and asked her to be his girlfriend. Yoon trusted him and agreed, not knowing his real intentions. Through Kim, Yoon met several other teenage girls and some older men in their 20s. Soon after, she left home with them and stayed at a motel in Busan. At first, things may have seemed normal, but very quickly, the group showed their true nature. They forced Yoon into prostitution. She was made to meet men and earn money, which the group used for themselves. Yoon was scared and felt she had no choice but to obey them. After about 2 weeks, Yoon managed to return home. She looked very weak and tired. Her father asked her what had happened, and she told him everything. She said she had been locked up, given very little food, and forced into terrible situations. She also said the people had threatened her, warning they would come back if she told anyone. Her father wanted to go to the police, but Yoon was too afraid. The next day they went to church. After the service, Yoon suddenly disappeared again. Her father quickly went to the police and reported her missing, explaining what had happened before. The police began searching for her, but during this time, Yoon was taken again by the same group. Over the next 20 days, she went through extreme abuse. They continued forcing her into prostitution many times a day. They also began to physically harm her. One day they found out she had logged into her social media account, and they became afraid she might expose them. Because of this, they beat her badly. The abuse became worse over time. They hit and kicked her, forced her to drink alcohol, and punished her in cruel ways. They made her do exhausting tasks and hurt her whenever she could not keep up. She was often very weak and could barely eat. At one point, they poured hot water on her body, causing serious burns. They also hit her with objects and threw things at her. Yoon begged to go home many times, but each time she was beaten again. On April 9th, they took her in a car and continued hurting her. They even treated her suffering like a game. By this point, Yoon was in very bad condition. On April 10th, while in a parked car, Yoon died due to her injuries. After realizing she was dead, the group panicked. They tried to hide the crime. They burned her face to make it hard to identify her. Then they buried her body in a remote area. Later, they moved her body again and covered it with cement to hide it better. Shockingly, even after this, the group committed another violent crime. They attacked another man, trying to get money from him, and he also died from his injuries. Soon after, the police caught the group because of this second crime. During the investigation, one of the girls told a friend the truth about Yoon. That friend reported it to the police. The police then uncovered everything that had happened. In court, the adult men received very heavy sentences, including life in prison. The teenage girls also received prison sentences, though shorter. Some of them said they were forced by the older men, but the court still held them responsible because they took part and did not try to stop it. Busan Roundhouse Kick Incident. It happened in South Korea, in the city of Busan, in May 2022. A young woman, who we will call Kim, went out with her friends on a Saturday night. After watching a street performance, she went home very late. At around 5 in the morning, she entered her apartment building and waited for the elevator on the first floor. While she was standing there alone, a man quietly came up behind her. Without warning, he suddenly kicked her very hard in the back of her head. The kick was so strong that Kim fell forward and hit her head against the wall. She collapsed on the ground. Even after she fell, the man did not stop. He kept hitting her, mostly targeting her head, until she became unconscious. The man was later identified as Lee. After knocking Kim unconscious, Lee picked her up and carried her to another part of the building where there were no cameras. He stayed there with her for about 7 to 8 minutes before leaving. At first, the case did not get much attention from the public. But months later, in November 2022, Kim wrote a post online about what had happened to her. Her post spread quickly, and many people became angry and shocked after learning about the case. As more details came out, people learned that Lee already had a long criminal history. He had been convicted of crimes many times before, including violent acts. Some people who knew him in the past said he had attacked others in a similar way before, by kicking from behind. During the investigation, Lee admitted that he kicked Kim since there was clear video evidence. However, he denied doing anything else to her. He claimed that after moving her to the area without cameras, he only checked if she was alive. He also kept saying that he was very drunk and could not remember much. But many people did not believe this. The CCTV showed that he had followed Kim carefully for several minutes before attacking her. He kept a distance and waited for the right moment, which did not match his claim of being too drunk to control himself. Even worse, Lee showed no regret for what he did. He did not ask about Kim's health or say sorry. Instead, he only asked how many years he would go to prison. Reports also said that while in jail, he talked about wanting revenge on Kim in the future. This made the public even more angry and worried for Kim's safety. At first, the court found Lee guilty of attempted murder and gave him 12 years in prison. However, both sides appealed. Later, new evidence was found, including DNA results and medical findings, which suggested that Kim may have been assaulted during the time when there were no cameras. Because of this, the charges were increased. In June 2023, the court sentenced Lee to 20 years in prison for assault and attempted murder. They were also upset with the legal system for protecting Lee's identity at first, even though there was clear video evidence of the crime and he had a long criminal record. Kim also expressed fear because Lee could still be released in the future. The Frog Boys' disappearance. In 1991, in the city of Daegu in South Korea, 5 young boys went out to play and never came back. Their story later became known as the Frog Boys Case, one of the most sad and confusing mysteries in the country. It was March 26, a public holiday because of an election. Schools were closed, and many people were busy with voting. That morning, 5 boys, who were all neighbors and close friends, left their homes to go on a small adventure. They were said to be going to a nearby mountain to catch frogs or collect salamander eggs. They were very close, like brothers, and often played together. When one of the boys did not show up at his taekwondo class, his father started asking around. Soon the parents realized that all 5 boys were missing. A friend said they had gone toward the mountain behind their village. The parents quickly went there and searched, but they found nothing. At first, the police did not take the case seriously. They thought the boys had just run away or were lost and would come back. But days passed, then a week, and there was still no sign of them. The case started to spread across the country, and people began to worry. A few days after the boys disappeared, one family got a phone call. A man claimed he had the boys and asked for money. The parents and police went to the meeting place, but no one showed up. It turned out to be a cruel prank. Later, another call came during a live TV show, and a mother believed she heard her son's voice. But that too was fake. As public anger grew, the government finally took action. A huge search began. Thousands of police officers and volunteers searched the mountain again and again. A reward was offered for any information. The boys' fathers even quit their jobs and spent years traveling across the country, handing out flyers and asking for help. They refused to give up. But as time passed, the case slowly faded from the news. Fewer people paid attention. Still, the families kept hoping. Then in 2002, more than 10 years later, something shocking happened. A man walking on the same mountain found children's shoes and clothes. Soon after, human bones were discovered. The remains of all 5 boys were found in that area. This raised many questions. The place where the bodies were found had already been searched many times before. The condition of the remains made it hard to know exactly how the boys died. At first, police said they may have died from cold weather, but experts and the families did not agree. The mountain was close to the city, and the boys knew the area well. It was unlikely they got lost and froze. There were also signs of possible violence. Some of the boys had injuries to their skulls, like they had been hit with something hard. Strange details were also found, like clothes tied in unusual ways and bullets near the bodies. Over the years, many theories came up. Some thought it was an accident covered up by the military because there was a shooting range nearby. Others believed it could have been a criminal act by one or more people, but no clear answer was ever found. In the end, the case remained unsolved. Korean crypto murders. On March 21, 2023, something terrible happened in the busy streets of Seoul, South Korea. It started with a single scream. It came from a woman, but no one paid attention. People thought it was nothing serious, just another noise in a crowded city. Sadly, that scream was a cry for help. The woman was 48 years old. For privacy, her real name was not shared, so we will call her Kim. She worked in the local area and was known as a kind and helpful person. When she suddenly stopped answering calls and did not come home, her family became worried. By the end of the day, they contacted the police and reported her missing. Days passed, but there was no sign of her. Then, far away from the city in a quiet countryside area, a person noticed something strange on the ground. The soil looked disturbed, as if someone had dug it up. A body was buried there. Police soon confirmed that the body was Kim. Now the case became a murder investigation. Her family and friends were in shock. They could not understand why anyone would want to hurt her. But as detectives started looking deeper, they found a dark reason behind it. Kim had once given advice to 2 people she knew, a couple. She told them to invest in a new cryptocurrency. The couple trusted her and invested a huge amount of money, over 1 billion Korean won, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars. But then the value of the cryptocurrency suddenly crashed. The money they had invested was almost completely lost. The couple was furious. Instead of accepting that they had taken a risk, they blamed Kim. In their anger, they made a terrible decision. They decided to take revenge, but they did not want to do it themselves. So they hired a man named Lee Kyung-woo. They paid him a large amount of money to carry out the crime. Lee claimed he had a dark past and said he worked as a killer for hire. On that day in Seoul, Lee and his partners kidnapped Kim. That scream people heard was the moment she was taken. They forced her into their control and gave her drugs to make her weak and unable to fight back. The drug used was ketamine, which came from Lee's wife, who worked as a nurse. She knew what it would be used for, but still gave it to him. While she was drugged, they forced Kim to give them all her cryptocurrency passwords. After that, they killed her. The cause of her death was a heavy dose of the drug. They then took her body far away and buried it in the countryside, hoping no one would ever find her. Police worked hard to solve the case. They used camera footage, phone records, and other evidence to track down everyone involved. In the end, 6 people were arrested. The man who carried out the killing was given a life sentence. His partners also received long prison sentences. The couple who planned the crime received shorter sentences, which shocked many people. Kim Kyu-soo murders. In 2001, many students from different countries came to London to study and explore a new life. Among them were 2 young women from South Korea. They were hopeful and excited, but sadly, they would become victims of a very cruel man. In November 2001, a person walking near a quiet road in North Yorkshire saw a large metal suitcase lying by the roadside. It looked strange because it had been left there for some time. When the person went closer, they noticed a very bad smell. Out of curiosity, they opened the suitcase. Inside, they found the badly decomposed body of a young woman. The police were called. At first, they waited until the next day to properly check the area because of bad weather. When they examined the body, they saw that the woman's face had been wrapped in tape, leaving only her eyes visible. It was clear she had died in a very painful way. The cause of death was suffocation, along with injuries to her head. At that time, no one knew who she was. The only clue was the suitcase itself, which had a label showing it was made in South Korea. Soon an important lead came. A South Korean officer studying in the UK saw a report about the body and connected it to a missing person case. Around the same time, a 21-year-old South Korean student named Yeo In had been reported missing. She had been studying in France and had gone to England for a short trip, but she never returned. Her family had last been in contact with the landlord of the place where she was staying in London. The landlord, a man named Kim Kyu-soo, said he did not know what happened to her. He claimed she had left with another man. Later, the police confirmed that the body in the suitcase was Yeo In. Her family was heartbroken. As the investigation continued, the police started to suspect Kim Kyu-soo. He had rented rooms to students and travelers, especially young women from Asia. At first, he seemed kind and friendly, which made people trust him. But things did not add up. Another young woman had also gone missing after staying at one of his places. When the police searched his apartment, they found blood stains that matched Yeo In. They also found signs that her body had been kept there before being moved. More evidence came from bank records. Money had been taken from the victims' accounts after they disappeared. The police also found that Kim had rented a car and driven a long distance, likely to get rid of the body. Kim had already left the country, and police feared he might escape. But later they learned he was coming back to London. They followed him and finally arrested him in January 2002 at an internet cafe. Even after his arrest, Kim did not cooperate much. Then in March 2002, something shocking was discovered. At another one of his properties, workers noticed a bad smell and many flies coming from the bathroom area. When police checked, they found a hidden space behind a wall. Inside, they found the body of the second missing woman. Both women had been tied and treated in a very cruel way. Because of this, the case became known as the Sticky Tape Murders. In court, Kim said the deaths were not planned and called it manslaughter. But the evidence against him was strong. In 2003, he was found guilty of murdering both women. He was sentenced to life in prison. Even today, the exact reason why he did this is not fully clear. Some believe it was for money, while others think there may have been darker reasons. Jung Yu JUng. This is the story of Jung Yu JUng, a 23-year-old woman from South Korea. At first, she looked like a normal, quiet person. She wore glasses, had a simple style, and did not seem dangerous at all. But what she did shocked the whole country. Jung Yu used a tutoring app to find her victim. These apps are often used by parents to find teachers for their children. She made a fake profile and pretended to be a mother who had a 14-year-old daughter. She said her daughter needed help with English. She contacted a tutor named Kim, a 26-year-old woman. Kim was known as kind, hardworking, and friendly. She lived alone and worked as a tutor to earn her own money. Jung Yu asked her many questions, including if she lived alone. After talking for some time, they agreed to meet. Jung Yu said she would send her daughter to Kim's home for a lesson. On May 26, Jung Yu carried out her plan. She dressed up in a middle school uniform to look like a young student. Around the evening, she went to Kim's apartment pretending to be the daughter. About an hour after entering the home, she killed Kim. The exact details are not fully known, but later reports showed that the victim had been stabbed many times, mostly in the chest and neck. After the crime, Jung Yu did something very disturbing. Instead of running away, she stayed calm. She left the apartment and went to nearby stores to buy trash bags, a knife, and cleaning supplies. Then she returned to the apartment and started trying to hide what she had done. She went back and forth between her home and the victim's home several times. She packed parts of the body into bags and a suitcase. Later, she even wore the victim's clothes, almost like she was trying to become her. Late at night, she took a taxi to a river. She carried the suitcase with her and threw the body parts into the water. The taxi driver felt something was strange. He noticed her behavior and found it suspicious that she went to such a quiet place late at night. After a short time, Jung Yu came back and asked for another ride. The driver had a bad feeling and called the police. When the police arrived, they checked her suitcase. It was empty, but they saw blood inside. When questioned, Jung Yu told many lies. First, she said the blood was from her period, but doctors found that was not true. Then she claimed she had just given birth, which was also proven false. She even made up a story about another person committing the crime. Later, she finally admitted what she did. She said she killed the tutor because she was curious and wanted to know what it felt like to kill someone. Police later found that Jung Yu had contacted many other tutors before choosing Kim. She seemed to target women who lived alone. She carefully picked her victim and planned the meeting. Her past also raised questions. She had no close friends and lived a very isolated life. After finishing school, she did not have a job and spent most of her time alone. She was also very interested in crime stories, movies, and books about murder. This case shocked many people because of how normal she seemed. She showed no panic, no regret, and acted calm even after the crime. It was hard for people to understand how someone like her could do something so terrible. Jeong Sang Jin. In October 2008, a shocking and very sad crime happened in South Korea. A man named Jeong Sang Jin killed 6 innocent people in a violent attack. What made this case even more disturbing was that the people he attacked had nothing to do with his problems. Jeong Sang Jin was born in 1978. He grew up in a small area and later moved to Seoul when he was 24 years old. His life was not easy. He said he had a difficult childhood and felt ignored by others. In school, he was quiet and often alone. Some people said he was bullied. He also tried to take his own life more than once when he was young. As an adult, his life did not improve. He moved from one small job to another and could not build a stable life. He worked part-time jobs like food delivery and parking cars. He also had money problems, including unpaid fees and fines. Because he had very little money, he lived in a tiny rented room called a gosiwon. These rooms are very small, and people share kitchens and bathrooms. People who saw his room said it was very messy and strange. There were many dolls, stacks of toilet paper, and piles of trash. While this behavior was unusual, it was his writings that showed something more serious. He kept diaries where he wrote about his anger, sadness, and hatred toward the world. In his diary, he often said he hated people and felt like his life had no meaning. He believed society had treated him unfairly. Over time, his thoughts became darker. He began to think about revenge, especially against rich people, because he felt they had a better life while he suffered. In October 2008, he made a terrible plan. Early in the morning on October 20th, he set fire to his room in the building where he lived. As the fire spread and smoke filled the hallway, people rushed out of their rooms, trying to escape. At that moment, Jeong Sang Jin came out into the hallway wearing black clothes, a mask, and goggles. He was carrying knives and a gas spray. As people tried to escape the fire, he attacked them. Some people managed to run away, while others tried to jump from windows to survive. During this attack, 5 people were killed by his knife, and 1 person died while trying to escape. Several others were seriously injured. The fire made the situation even worse, spreading quickly through the building. Firefighters arrived and worked hard to stop the fire. After about 30 minutes, they were able to control it. Jeong Sang Jin was found hiding inside the building. At first, he looked like another victim, but police soon realized he was the attacker. He quickly admitted what he had done. After his arrest, police found weapons in his diaries, which clearly showed he had planned the attack for a long time. He said he wanted revenge, but the victims were people just like him, poor and struggling. During the investigation, doctors studied his mental health. They said he had long-term depression and emotional problems, but he still understood his actions. In 2009, he was found guilty of 6 murders and setting the fire. He was given the death sentence. However, South Korea has not carried out executions for many years, so he remains in prison. Lee Yaram. On May 21, 2021, a young woman named Lee Yaram, who was a sergeant in the South Korean Air Force, took her own life in her dorm room. Before she died, she recorded a video and left behind messages that explained everything she had been going through. That same day was also supposed to be one of the happiest days of her life. She had just officially registered her marriage with her longtime boyfriend. In the evening, they had dinner together and celebrated. Later, her husband had to go to work for a night shift, and she drove him there. She acted normal, just like any other day. After returning home, she prepared a meal for her husband for the next morning. She placed it neatly on the table. Then she sent him a message saying, "Good night, see you tomorrow." Sadly, she had already decided that there would be no tomorrow for her. After sending the message, she turned on her phone camera and recorded her final words. In the video, she said she tried to follow the rules and do the right thing, but no one helped her. She said she was forced to stay silent and could not handle the pain anymore. The next morning, her husband came home after his shift. When he opened the door, he found her lying on the floor. She had passed away. The room was clean and calm, showing that she had planned everything. Next to her was her phone with the video she had recorded. As people watched the video, the truth came out. Lee Yaram had been sexually assaulted by a fellow soldier, a man named Jang. After the incident, she reported it to her superior officer, hoping for help and justice. But instead of helping her, her superior ignored the situation. The attacker then threatened her and tried to scare her into staying quiet. When she went to the military police, they did not take her seriously. They kept asking her to repeat her story again and again. At the same time, the attacker was barely questioned and faced no real punishment. In the end, the military police said there was not enough evidence, even though she had proof. The attacker was simply moved to another unit, and the case was almost forgotten. After this, things got even worse for her. She was harassed and pressured to drop the case. Some people even threatened to tell her family, trying to scare her into silence. She felt alone and helpless. She took a short break from work to recover, but the stress did not stop. When she returned, she was moved to another unit, but rumors had already spread. People talked about her and judged her. She felt ashamed and isolated. All of this became too much for her to handle. When the public learned about her story, people were shocked and angry. Hundreds of thousands of people signed a petition asking for justice. The man who assaulted her was arrested and later sentenced to prison. It was also revealed that he had done similar things before. High-ranking officials who ignored the case were also blamed, and some were forced to resign. Kim Sung-jae's death. The death of Kim Sung-jae is still one of the most shocking and confusing cases, even after many years. He was a young and talented singer whose life ended very suddenly, and to this day, many people still believe justice was never done. Kim Sung-jae was born in 1972. He became famous as a member of a music group called Deudeul. The group started in 1993 and quickly became very popular. They were known for their hip-hop music, dancing, and style. At that time, they were one of the biggest and most loved groups in Korea. In 1995, the group broke up because the members had different ideas about music. After that, Kim Sung-jae decided to start his solo career. On November 19, 1995, he had his first solo performance. It was supposed to be the happiest day of his life. After the performance, he went back to a hotel with his manager, dancers, and his girlfriend. They spent some time together, talking and drinking a little. Around 1 a.m., the dancers went to their rooms. Later, the manager also went to sleep, leaving Kim Sung-jae alone with his girlfriend. The next morning, around 6 a.m., the manager tried to wake him up. At first, he thought the singer was just tired. But after trying again, he realized something was very wrong. Kim Sung-jae was not breathing. He was later confirmed dead. He was only 23 years old. At first, people thought he died from heart failure, but soon strange details started to come out. Rumors spread that he might have used drugs or taken his life, but these ideas were not true. When the autopsy report came, it showed something very shocking. There were 28 needle marks on his arm. Even more strange, the substance found in his body was not normal medicine. It was animal drugs used to put animals to sleep. This made it clear that his death was not natural. Suspicion quickly fell on his girlfriend because she was the only person with him that night. She was known to have medical knowledge, so she could use needles. It would also be very hard for him to inject himself that many times. Later, a witness said that the girlfriend had bought those animal drugs and asked them not to tell anyone. There were also stories about her behavior. People said she was very possessive and jealous. She often fought with him and even acted aggressively in the past. There were also signs that something happened before he went to sleep. His mother later said that he still had makeup on when he died, which he never did before sleeping. This suggested he may have been attacked earlier. At first, the girlfriend was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. But later, during another trial, the court said there was not enough clear evidence. She was found not guilty and released. Many people were shocked by this decision. There was a lot of evidence pointing toward her, but it was not enough in court. Some also believe that her family's power and connections may have helped her case. After that, the case slowly went cold. Years later, in 2019, people tried to talk about the case again on TV, but the broadcast was blocked by court orders, reportedly requested by the same woman. Today, it is said that she lives a new life under a different name, while Kim Sung-jae's family is still searching for the truth. Jang Ja case. The Jang Ja case is one of the most sad and disturbing stories in the South Korean film industry. Jang Ja was a young actress who many people believed had a bright future. Even though she had only worked in a few projects, her acting was good, and people thought she would soon become very famous. But her life ended suddenly in 2009. On March 7, 2009, Jang Ja was found dead in her home. It was said that she took her own life. A few hours before her death, she had spoken to her sister on the phone. During that call, she said she was under a lot of stress and was feeling very hurt inside. Later, when her sister could not reach her again, she went home and found her body. At first, people believed this was a sad case of a young actress who could not handle pressure. But very soon, something shocking came out. After her death, a letter was discovered. In this letter, Jang Ja wrote about the pain she had been going through. She said that many powerful people in the industry had forced her into bad situations. These included company bosses, directors, and other important men. She wrote that her company's CEO had made her meet these people and serve them, sometimes late at night. She said she was forced to do things against her will. If she refused, she was told her career would be destroyed. She also wrote about being hurt physically and treated very badly. She said this started after she signed her contract with the company. She felt trapped and powerless, like she had no way to escape. Because of these claims, the police started an investigation. Many officers worked on the case for months. But in the end, the police said there was not enough proof to punish most of the people she named. Only one person, the CEO, was punished. The punishment was very light. He received a short prison sentence and probation. Many people felt this was unfair and that justice was not done. After some time, the case slowly faded away and was almost forgotten. But in 2019, the case came back into the public eye. This happened after other big scandals made people question the entertainment industry. The government ordered old cases like this one to be looked at again. New reports were released, and they showed more details about Jang Ja situation. It was said that she had written her letter in her manager's office. She believed that if she told the truth, her identity would be protected and she could leave her contract. She wrote about many moments where she was forced to obey orders to get acting roles. She described being sent to meet powerful men and being made to serve them. She also wrote about being locked in rooms, shouted at, and even hit. Even after the case was reopened and new details came out, The final result did not change much. No major new punishments were given. To this day, many people believe that Jang Ja did not get justice. The Hwaseong Murders. The Hwaseong Murders were a series of terrible crimes that happened in South Korea between 1986 and 1991. The crimes took place in a quiet rural area where many people worked on farms. At that time, the town was peaceful, so when the first murder happened, it shocked everyone. The first known victim was a 71-year-old woman. She was walking home at night when she was attacked. Her body was found a few days later in a field. She had been assaulted and killed. There was almost no evidence, so the police had no clear suspect. About a month later, a second woman aged 25 disappeared while walking home from a bus stop. Her body was found a few days later. She had been attacked and killed in the same way as the first victim. It became clear that these crimes were connected. Over the next few months, more women were attacked and killed. Most of them were alone at night, often walking home from bus stops. The killer used similar methods each time. He would tie them up, assault them, and then strangle them. Sometimes he used the victim's own clothing. The bodies were often left in fields or near roads, not far from where they were taken. As more victims were found, fear spread through the town. People were scared to go out at night, especially women. Some even believed strange ideas, like the killer was targeting women wearing red clothes. Because of this, many women stopped wearing red. The police tried to find the killer, but they struggled. They questioned thousands of people but found no clear answer. At times they became desperate and treated suspects badly. Some innocent people were forced to confess or were hurt during questioning. This caused even more problems and did not help solve the case. In 1988, a very shocking case happened. A 14-year-old girl was attacked and killed in her own home while her family slept nearby. This made people even more afraid because it showed the killer could strike anywhere, even inside a house. The police arrested a man for this crime, and he confessed. However, it was later discovered that he was not the real killer. He had been forced to confess. While he was in custody, more murders happened, proving that the real killer was still free. The killings continued for several years. In total, at least 10 women were killed in the Hwaseong area. The case became one of the most famous unsolved crimes in South Korea. Then in 1994, a man named Lee Chun-jae was arrested for a different murder. He killed a member of his own family. He was sent to prison for life. At the time, no one connected him to the Hwaseong murders. Many years later, in 2019, new DNA testing helped solve the case. The evidence matched Lee Chun-jae. When questioned, he confessed to the Hwaseong murders and several other crimes. He admitted to killing many victims and said he had committed even more assaults. By this time, it was too late to punish him for those earlier murders because the legal time limit had passed. However, he was already in prison for life, so he would never be released. The case also revealed serious mistakes by the police. An innocent man had spent 20 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. Some evidence had even been hidden. This caused great pain for victims' families and showed how badly the case had been handled. In the end, the Hwaseong murders left a deep mark on South Korea. Many lives were lost, and many families suffered for years. Yoo Young-chul. In 2003, a very shocking case began in South Korea. A man named Yoo Young-chul became one of the most feared killers in the country. It took the police almost a year to catch him, and during that time, many people lost their lives. The case first became known in September 2003. A 74-year-old professor did not show up to work, which worried his colleagues. After a few days, the police went to check his home. Inside, they found both the professor and his wife dead. The scene was very violent. What made this strange was that nothing was stolen, even though the couple had money and valuables in the house. This meant the killer was not after money. Just 2 weeks later, another terrible crime happened. 3 people from one family were found dead in their home. They were all older and defenseless, making them easy targets. Again, the crime was very violent, and again, there were no clear clues or suspects. Soon after, more similar attacks happened, Elderly people living in their homes were being killed often with blunt objects like hammers. In one case, the killer even set a house on fire to hide evidence. The police began to notice a pattern. The killer was targeting rich, older people. This made the public very scared as no one knew who would be next. Then near the end of the year, the killings suddenly stopped. This was because the police finally found a small but important clue. A camera had captured a man near one of the crime scenes. His image was shared with the public. However, in early 2004, a new series of crimes began. This time, young women started to go missing. Many of them worked in the red light area. One woman's body was later found, and it showed signs of extreme violence. Over a few months, several women disappeared in similar ways. It seemed like the same person might be behind these crimes, but the victims were very different from before. In July 2004, things finally changed. A brothel noticed that a client's phone number matched one used before by a woman who had gone missing. They informed the police. The police set up a trap, pretending to send another woman to meet the client. When the man arrived, officers tried to arrest him. He fought back strongly, but they managed to capture him. The man was Yoo Young-chul. At first there was little evidence, but during questioning, he shocked everyone. He claimed that he had killed many people. Later he showed the police where some victims were buried and explained how he committed the crimes. He admitted that he killed wealthy elderly people because he hated rich people. He said he grew up poor and felt angry at those who had easy lives. Later his anger shifted toward women, especially after personal relationship problems. He then began targeting women, tricking them into meeting him and then killing them. He had been imprisoned many times for different offenses. During the investigation, he even managed to escape once, but he was quickly caught again. In court, Yu showed no regret. He openly admitted his crimes and even seemed proud. In December 2004, he was found guilty of multiple murders and was given the death sentence. However, he is still in prison as executions have not been carried out in South Korea for many years. This case shocked the whole country. Many innocent people lost their lives, and their families still feel that pain. Yoo Young-chul became known as one of the most dangerous killers in South Korea's history. Kong Ho-sun. Kong Ho-sun was known as one of the most dangerous serial killers in South Korea. What made his case very disturbing was that he did not look like a bad person at all. In fact, many people said he was kind, friendly, and very charming, especially toward women. Kong was born in 1969 and grew up in a normal family. He had several siblings, and his childhood was not difficult. His parents were able to take care of the family, and he did well in school. As a young man, he looked innocent and polite. People around him thought he was a good person. He even served in the army like many other men. As he got older, people still saw him as friendly and easy to talk to. His neighbors described him as cheerful and hardworking. However, people who knew him more closely noticed something strange. He was very obsessed with women and liked to show off about how many women he could attract. He believed he could win over any woman very quickly. Kong was married 4 times. His relationships did not last long, and he often cheated on his partners. Even while married, he would look for other women and ask for dates. He also tried very hard to appear attractive. He cared a lot about his looks, his body, and his health. He ran small businesses like a restaurant, a massage shop, and even a dog breeding business. But there were signs that something was wrong. He neglected his dogs badly, and some were found starving or dead. Still, he used pictures of himself with dogs to appear kind and trustworthy to women. In 2005, he took out large life insurance plans on his 4th wife and her mother. Soon after, a fire happened at their home, and both women died. Kong survived. This raised suspicion, but nothing was proven at the time. After this, his life started to fall apart. His businesses failed, he had money problems, and he was being investigated. Around this time, he changed. In 2006, women in his area started to go missing. Kong used a simple but effective trick. He would drive around and offer women a ride, especially in cold weather. Because he looked kind and normal, many trusted him and got into his car. Once they were inside, he would attack them. He would harm them and then kill them, often by strangling them. He chose victims he thought he could easily control. Afterward, he got rid of their bodies. His crimes became more frequent over time. He did not seem to care about the people he hurt. In one case, he even said he felt a little sorry for a victim, but still killed her because he had already decided to do it that day. What made his case even more shocking was that he lived a normal life at the same time. He had girlfriends and acted completely normal with them. None of them knew what he was doing. He could commit a crime and then meet someone shortly after, as if nothing had happened. Eventually, police were able to catch him after finding evidence, including camera footage and witness reports. He was linked to multiple murders and confessed to killing at least 8 women. During questioning, he showed very little emotion. He even said himself that he believed he was a psychopath. Experts who spoke to him said he was very good at controlling conversations and manipulating people. Kung was sentenced to death, but he remains in prison.